Hello and welcome back to the final evening of IFSC World Championship action in Bern. It's time for the men to compete for not only a gold medal, but Olympic places are on the line. My name is Matt Groom and I'm joined for the final time by Shauna Coxey. Shauna, what a couple of weeks it's been and what a finale to all this climbing.
I am so nervous for this event. It is the final day here, like you said. It feels like everything has been ramping up throughout the event. We've had some amazing nights and Olympic tickets awarded, and this will be the last three at this event tonight. The last three for this event.
Yeah, there's a few more opportunities for the athletes to qualify, and we'll tell you about that in a minute. But right now, we're a couple of minutes away, and you can see the crowd have filled the stadium here. The temperature has risen, and we're about ready to go. Well, if you're just joining us, welcome to Bern. We're watching the athletes observe the boulders. This happened about half an hour ago before the competition started. And if you're wondering what on earth is going on, what is this sport, don't worry, we'll go through all the rules because things are a little bit different. Shauna, we've got 100 points available from Boulder. And for people watching the individual competitions, an entirely new scoring system for this event.
Yeah, so this event is the lead and boulder event, and that is the discipline that's going to be at the Olympic Games alongside speed climbing, which has its own set of medals as well. So there had to be a new format invented for lead and boulder, because if we took the ranking system, which we've used previously, there were too many ties and it just didn't work. So lots of different methods were tested, and ultimately this point system is what was on top of the pile after all the testing, and I do think it leads to some incredibly exciting and intense moments.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. There's been lots of chat about how good this is. There's two zones instead of the normal one. The low zone being worth 5 points, high zone 10 and 25 for a top. And there is Paul Gemft as he runs on from France. The first athlete to be out. He qualified in last place for this final, so he'll climb first of all. Do-hyun Lee from Korea, what a season that man is having. He's got a gold medal to his name and he wants to add a World Championship medal as well. And then next up, a bit of a legend in the sport, Adam Ondra. And Shauna, we remember when he won a World Championship in Paris a couple of years ago. He's a man who likes to perform on these big stages.
Who likes to, and he knows how to turn it up and perform when it really counts. So I say that, but I also feel like this guy can do just the same. Jakob Schubert, he is the current lead world champion, and he is here to fight tonight.
Incredibly relaxed. I saw him in my hotel today, and he's just having breakfast, kind of walking around. I'd be so nervous if I was him, but nothing seems to faze him. And then Tomoe Narasaki from Japan, one of two Japanese athletes in this final. The last one will come out last. He qualified in first. And from the USA, Colin Duffy. He's had an up and down season, come so close so many times, but what a battle it was for him to get into this final.
And he looked on great form in the semi-finals a few days back. He looked to be climbing with a confidence we've not seen from Colin much this season.
No, he hopefully got a bit of that back, as hopefully has Toby Roberts. He didn't have the best individual by his own standards. He still was right up there. But he seems to have gained a little bit back during the semi-finals for this comp, and fingers crossed for him.
Yeah, he definitely didn't have the results that he wanted in the individual disciplines, but I know his focus was on this combined event. He is where he wants to be, just as this guy is too, Serato. He has been on fire this event, on fire this season, and actually the only athlete in this entire event that I've seen say they are not here for an Olympic ticket, but they are here to win, and if he gets that win, he'll get the ticket anyway.
Well, that's our top 8. They qualified for this through the individual competitions, then we had a semi-final, and now we're at the finals. The women competed yesterday, and I won't give it away too much, but we will be at some point talking about those winners, so spoiler alert. And the top 3 go through, so gold, silver and bronze will win an Olympic ticket. And if you watched last night, you'll know how exciting it is right until the very end, so you must stick around with us. The boulders are waiting in the background while we have a little pause. And in a minute, we're going to check out the highlights from the semi-final. But first of all, our route setters and some of our judges are on stage. Okay, so I mentioned the semi-final highlights. Let's have a look at that. Some beautiful shots from there so you can see how great this sport is. You can see from those shots how intense this competition is going to be. And Shauna, when we look at the list of athletes, although it's important here, there are more opportunities for these athletes to qualify in the future.
Yes, so this is the first opportunity. There will be 3 spots awarded tonight to the top 3 men. We saw 3 spots awarded to the top 3 women in lead and boulder last night, and top 2 for men and top 2 for women in speed. So next up, we'll see the Continental Championships, where the winners of those will get their Olympic tickets. And then after that, we have the Olympic Qualifier Series taking place next year, which is a 3-part series. Top 10 for lead and boulder will get their spots. Top 10 men, top 10 women, and top 5 men and 5 women for speed.
There we go. Thank you very much, Shauna. Lots of opportunity for the athletes, but tonight, if they get it, it just means they can relax a little bit, get on with training, and not have to worry about competing in the future for this place, and that makes a difference. And we're looking at boulder number 1. We read these routes earlier on. We can see the 25, the 5, 10, and 25. And Shauna, this kind of a boulder, what have the athletes got ahead of them on this?
This kind of boulder, it's powerful. It's a lot of difficult moves on really bad holds, and I know that might sound obvious, but sometimes we see good holds on the wall where the moves are maybe more wild. This does have some dynamic movement in it in the middle section, and then it's really intense climbing all the way to the end. You cannot let up. Bad footholds, bad holds. It's going to be wild.
It is indeed. Well, that's boulder 1. So if you're just joining us, you're about to catch the action from the men's boulder and lead finals. The top 3 will go through to the Olympics. Paul Gempt is out from France, and we get to see these boulders in action for the first time as Paul stretches towards that 5 zone.
Could see Paul, he went to reach for that 5 zone, realised he couldn't quite make it, and then opted for a more dynamic method, which is what the route setters intended. And he sticks the really dynamic move in the middle. First try here, a great first attempt for Paul, getting that 10 zone with no trouble.
He would have got a minus 0.1 if he had fallen off. He'll get the full 10. And now he's aiming for a 25. If he can do it without falling, he'll get the full points. If not, it'll be minus 0.1, and we'll keep you updated on those scores. And Paul with a massive drop knee there.
A really good display of flexibility, getting his foot so high and being able to twist and turn into that drop knee. His left foot is not on anything very good, but he's making it work for him, standing super high, missing a hold, going to the 25. He's got one hand on it, but he explodes off backwards, not in a position that he'd be able to match there, but a really impressive first effort from him.
Yeah, maximum points on the high zone. So that's locked in now, that score. He doesn't keep getting a minus every time he climbs the route, unless it's towards the top, and he gets the top. We'll keep you updated, and keep a look on the bottom left. That's the scoreboard. You can see the 10 and the 2 lines filled in for the high zone. That box will fill all the way up if he tops the boulder. He's got 2 minutes, 26 seconds to do that, and time is a factor here.
Time definitely is a factor. It's important to rest on a boulder like this, though. It's very physical. Still 3 boulders to go, and the lead route, of course. So Paul, I would imagine, will have a good rest. He has that 10-point zone. The only next progression he can get is the 25. Obviously, there'll be a minus 0.1 now. He's fallen and had an attempt, so it'll be 24.9 if he does it on his next attempt. But we see him pulling back on with 2 minutes to go. I'm surprised he didn't rest longer here.
Yeah, he got all the beta, so he knows the moves. I think he might be trying to get a couple of goes in before it goes down. Straight into the 10, 2 strong shoulder moves there.
He looked really smooth coming into that paddle jump, so he hit the first hold really well, hit the 10 super accurately. We see him starting to fight here as he's matching into this undercut. He's going to step his foot right again, I expect. He's flipped his right hand, so leaving his feet to the side, and there we see that really awkward high foot.
Yeah, again, that massive drop knee. Will he try to skip the hold? He can't get there this time. And immediately, I mean, he's puffing out his cheeks. It shows how powerful this starting boulder is.
It's incredibly powerful. It's such a steep angle on very bad holds, like we've said. Paul here, he's leaving both feet incredibly high, which means that drop knee is really awkward for him to get in. I expect the route setters didn't even try that method. We know Paul is someone who thinks outside the box occasionally and does different kind of foot sequences and is really good at using his flexibility to get his feet high. I do think that's limiting him, though. The intended method is to get your foot up on the right and do quite a difficult, powerful, quite fast movement to the top. With that drop knee in, he's having to go very slowly, therefore not getting the height he needs to make those top holds feel good.
So he goes again with 27 seconds on the clock. Looking great on that left hand. Into the jump once more, but just held it that time. He's got a jib with the right hand, a small hold that's screwed on to the bigger hold.
Such a powerful move. You can see him now having to fight in that position, showing that he is fatigued after those first few attempts. The clock counts down and he doesn't actually get time to even try the top. As soon as that time runs down, the athlete must stop climbing. If they were to top after the beeps, then they wouldn't be awarded those points, so wasted energy, and they aren't supposed to keep climbing.
Exactly. Well, Paul's left, and we haven't got cameras back there, but I wanted to tell you, I had a sneaky look so I could tell you guys. Backstage, there's chairs that are created from boulder mats, and each chair is separated by a screen, so the athletes are almost isolated back there to stop them being distracted perhaps from the others.
So they're isolated in isolation.
Yes, yeah, precisely. An isolated ISO. All right, Do-Hyun Lee is on from Korea, 20 years old. Let's see what he makes of boulder number 1.
Do-hyun has had an incredible competition so far. He is one of 2 athletes in this final tonight that made both the lead and the boulder final, showing just how impressive it is it's so impressive to be at that level in both disciplines, just showing how strong and prepared he is for this competition. Just like that, sticking that move, no bother, a big swing from his legs. It didn't matter because he had such good contact strength hitting that hold. He could hold the swing quite easily, it looked like.
Yeah, and a little bit of a different method, pressing off with the left.
But again, stepping that foot up really high, but he's dropping the other knee here. He dropped his left knee, not his right knee, to try and come into match. I almost think that the high feet are kind of sabotaging the climbers in a way, because it's getting you into a more stable position, and you're going to want to explode out of that position. It's going to be really hard to do that with both high feet for the athletes.
Yeah, Do-hyun falls on his first go, but he did flash that high zone. And although he's only got a 5 there, I think that's going to change to a 10 in a minute. We'll wait for that to be updated. So he has a look around. There are appeals in this process, so when we tell you the results, just bear in mind, and there we go, that is the upgraded score, and he moves to the top due to count back to that semi-final because of the position that he qualified for this final.
Yep.
You can see our camera person there standing underneath the overhanging section. That boulder is to come. Apparently one of the easier ones that surprised us because it's very steep there.
And a little glimpse at the crowd that we got just right now. The energy in this arena, we've talked about it throughout all of the rounds. It has been incredibly wild and fun and electric, one might say.
I agree with you. It is wonderful to be here. Myself and Shauna, we are down in the middle of all the action, right in the heart of the stadium. Crowd surrounding us, like a wave around us. Do-hyun is by himself at the moment, but later on we will have 2 athletes climbing at the same time on 2 different boulders.
He knows this bottom section. He's repeating it really smoothly, looking calmer and calmer as every attempt goes. He's reaching out to the right now. That hold is really slopey. There isn't anything in there. There's no extra hold. He's opting for the high foot again. He's going to try and drop that knee. You can see he can't quite twist into it. He's shorter than Paul. Paul has longer legs, so is able to twist much more easily in that position. The athletes have read these boulders together, so they'll all stand on the mats. They get 2 minutes per boulder for observation, and they can talk to each other during that time. Right now, behind the wall, they are not allowed to talk. Like you said, there are screens up to ensure there's no communication whatsoever between the athletes. But when they're out on the mats for that observation period, we do see athletes chatting and talking, and I wonder if maybe Do-hyun and Paul were talking together about that high foot sequence, or if all the athletes have read the same way.
Yeah, we've got them to come. Only 2 athletes into our 8-men final. Shouldery press out, and it is tiring. He's only got 30 seconds as well, so this is likely, well, I was so about to say likely to be his last go. We'll see. He's now got 30 seconds left. Back to the 5, and that catch with the right hand on the undercling. Hits the shoulder, but I think he's running out of steam here.
And both Do-hyun and Paul looking fatigued on their later attempts, showing how hard this climb is. I do think the athletes will have their mind on what's to come. They've seen all the boulders. They haven't yet seen the route, but they know the route is going to be a long one, at least 40 moves because of the way the scoring system works. So there's a lot more climbing to go, and tactics are hugely important here. Yeah,
skin and fatigue. You've got to remember that. And the athletes have had a couple of days rest, so the skin should have been recovered from the semi-final, but these boulders are brutal and they'll need to pace themselves. All right, Adam Wonder runs onto the stage. Big reaction from the crowd. He hasn't done that many World Cups this year. He had his return in Prague where he got silver, but he's always been focusing on the World Champs as the most important event of the season. Adam pulls on, he's underway. His competition starting now as he slaps to the 5, misses it on his first go.
Yeah, he just looked like he didn't get the body position and didn't quite commit to the movement there. Maybe kind of maybe a little bit too relaxed or maybe a little bit too nervous. It's hard to say. I don't think he'll struggle too much with this move. He'll get much more height in his hips this time. He'll throw them much closer into the wall and hit that hold a lot more accurately, is what I expect from Adam on this next attempt.
Right, he goes again, a little reset, and yes, as you said, straight in, much better from Adam. Eyes up the shoulder move, drops that as well. So 2 falls to 2 zones. First time we've seen an athlete not struggle, but have to think about this bottom section.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fair to say struggle. He's falling off, you know. He hit that sloper and his body started to twist away from the wall. Ideally, he wants his hips to stay parallel with the wall, so when he hits that little jib, so the screw on, the little bit extra that's on the hold of the 10, he'll be able to take the swing really easily with good contact strength. We know Adam can hold on when he's in the right position, so it is all about body position, and when he hits that hold perfectly, we'll see him swing out and swing back in without struggle. But he does need to get the setup right. He needs to hit the first hold and then ride the wave through that, getting the momentum right. And the crowd is suddenly stepping up a little bit. I think they almost were too relaxed and not thinking he needed the encouragement.
Well, Adam, with the drop knee that time, different method of getting through there.
Yeah, the drop knee's, I don't think, setting him up right. With the drop knee, you can't push out of a drop knee. It's pulling your hips down, so all the power is having to come from his left leg, which is going to make it a lot harder for him.
Yeah, so a bit of a think needed from Adam Ondra here. And as we know, you can't win the competition in Boulder, but you can give yourself a lot of work to do in lead. And we saw how important high scores are in Boulder last night for the women. So Adam needs to keep focused, keep pushing in a different method with the foot that time, but still not making it work.
He's not, which is very interesting. He's jumping off a lower foot now, but when he's hitting that first hold, he's not getting much bend in his arms. So when he's hitting the second hold, his arms are really straight. If you hit a dyno with straight arms, all of the weight is going through your fingertips. You're not using your bigger muscles to control that swing. Yes, Adam's contact strength is amazing, but if his body is too far away from the wall, he's not going to be able to hold on. So if he can get a bit more bend in his arms and feel a bit more rhythm through the movement, kind of pulling as he hits that first slope into the 10, so he's got his arms a little bit bent, I think we'll see him hold it. Or if he can get his hips aligned better with the wall, again, there's a few corrections he can make here, and he's able to do them. So I hope we see him stick this 10.
So Adam goes again, less than a minute now. This is better from him.
And you saw that his arms were bent. He was so much higher in his shoulders, and it was a really good effort for him to make those adjustments after some not very successful attempts. And we see him setting up for this last move. He looks really high, see his arms really bent into his bicep, and he's going to have to slap hard into this 25, but he does one hand. He needs to if he wants those points.
Yeah, he's got to match it, and he can't match it. His whole arm, right arm, was in action there, and with 20 seconds to go, he leaves. And yeah, I mean, that says it all, really, doesn't it? Adam only figuring it out, getting the sequence in the last couple of seconds.
We do know that this is supposed to be a hard boulder. It isn't the easiest boulder of the round, and easy is the wrong word to use, but not a lot of tops necessarily expected. The athletes were supposed to have to fight hard. It's been a great watch so far, but we still got 5 athletes to come out on that block.
Yeah, there's a lot of climbing ahead of us, and we will soon move on to boulder number 2 as well. That was the swing he got when he hit the shoulder.
So much higher in his shoulders. Great to see he was able to do that, but it's such an unfortunate not able to match on that last hold.
So Austria's Jakob Schubert comes out. His teammate Jessie Pilz, she qualified last night, and it was incredible to see her peaking at the right time. And peaking's important because some of these athletes, as we said earlier, this is their whole focus for the season. So to be in the right frame of mind mentally and have the physical shape with this event, it is vital for them.
We talk about other opportunities to qualify, and yes, there are. But if you can qualify here, you get to write the script for the next kind of year leading up to the games, or just short of a year. Whereas the other athletes, the script's kind of written for them if they're having to focus on other events. Bringing back to the action, Jakob, a surprising start from him here. He pulled on, he wasn't in a good position, he stepped off the wall. We know attempts don't count as much as they do in a normal boulder competition, as it's only minus 0.1, but however they do count for separation a lot of the time. Nice to see him figure that out. I'm surprised it took him so long, but really great learning from him on this boulder.
Yeah, Jakob's bouldering as he hits the 10 first of all, and he's in now. So we'll talk about this, then I'll talk about his bouldering. But he holds that jib, and that's the screw on I was talking about, onto the volume. So it just gives a little bit more grip for the athletes.
And we can see now just how bad that right hand hold is. There's nothing in there to make it better. It's sloping, it's open. We see that high feet now, but only stepping the foot up once he's up on his arms. One hand onto the 25. Can he make it to? We saw Adam fall here. We know it isn't an easy match. And Jakob, he's having to fight for this, but he doesn't want to let go.
No, he doesn't. And then at the top, when he knew, a little relax, a flick of the wrists. And Jakob Schubert scores the biggest points of the evening so far. And that will do wonders for his confidence, because he hasn't always had the greatest of bouldering rounds this competition. So to come out there and do that will have done good things for his head.
Really good things for his head. And don't forget, he is the current lead world champion. He took that title just a few days ago. But like you said, in the combined semi-final, so a few days back, he only scored 44.8 in Boulder. So to come out and get a 25 or close to a 25 on that first Boulder, you can see what that means to him. He looks happy with that and almost a little bit surprised.
Yes, you're right. Grabbed the top of the wall, and then he enjoyed that moment. Well, let's look at the results as they stand. So Jakob Schubert, we just saw him, 24.8, so minus those attempts. Do-Hyun Lee on 10, as is Paul Gemft, one ahead of the other due to countback, and then Adam Ondra.
I want to talk about the mind games that are going on right now, because there is a lot to think about with tops happening. So Jakob, the stadium erupted when he hit that 25 and his hand came into match. It erupted even more. I don't think it's possible for the athletes behind the wall to not know about what just happened. They aren't allowed to know the scores until the end of this round, but the eruption in the arena is going to give it away, I think. So there's two things at play here. There's the athletes who didn't get the top, who know that Jakob probably does have that, and there's the athletes to come out. The mind games that are weighing on those athletes right now are significant, and also the mind games for Jakob. What a confident boost to come out and do that. And I reckon he's pretty sure the first three athletes didn't. So there's a lot going on here, much more than you can see on your screens. I'm just trying to pick out little nuances and bits of information that maybe you might not think about, because there is so much pressure and weight pushing down on these athletes as they're trying to climb up the wall.
All that is going on in their minds. Paul Gemft pulls onto the slab. We saw it on our 3D there. Her bad feet, as you can see on the left. The boulder goes from right to left. Oh, and Paul nearly overbalancing. And a slightly different style here, Shauna, because a slab, you need to be good in your feet, and it's all about being precise with good balance.
Yeah, it's all about the hips. As I say very often, slab climbing especially, if you watch how he's moving his hips over to the left to be delicate with that foot placement. Really quick work from Paul here as he nears the 25 on his very first attempt. He reaches one finger and two.
Well, that's the control that we needed to see with the match. So he brought two hands in, and it doesn't have to be a full hand. You can just do it with a nail if it's on your hands, but you need to match it. You need to match it, you need to match it in control. And we see Tomoa stood in front of Boulder 1 here. This is quite a Tomoa style boulder, one might say. He loves to do the dynamic and the flare moves. He's not done it on his first attempt, which is interesting, but we see him now looking smooth here. Yeah, he's up and through, and he starts this shoulder sequence, cuts loose, hits the right foot, and again he wants to bring that left up, but struggling as he tries to get some friction with the right hand. What I think we saw Jakob do really well here is get a lot of height. He stood really, really tall. He slapped into this 25, and now the right foot, it's all about where this right foot goes in order to stick that. Jakob was able to bump it up to the next hold. The athletes that we've seen not do that, so Tomoa and Adam too, weren't able to bump that foot up. And as soon as Jakob bumped it up, he turned to the crowd. He knew he wasn't letting go. So suddenly the move goes from feeling impossible to even hold on to very comfortable and able to wave to the crowd. I do wish the athletes
athletes would match before they wave.
Oh,
But
me too.
Jakob was very confident in his abilities there. And I think Tomoa will maybe start to make some adjustments in that last section if he can get back up there, because the athletes, they need to do the whole climb from the bottom to the top. They can't try movements and work the boulder. They have to go from the bottom to the top every time, and that's such a hard thing to do in such a short amount of time. He's now got to be very tactical about how long he rests for, what he does in that rest time. We'll see him with his eyes constantly on the boulder. If his eyes are flicking around, it tends to mean that he maybe doesn't know exactly what to do. If his eyes are just focused and still, often it could suggest that he's very confident, but we see him looking up at the top of the boulder and looking around for what he might need to do differently position-wise, because there was no way he could match in the position that he was in last time. So adjustments are going to be needed.
So he's got to reset, and we saw the coaches there. They're allowed as close to the stage as possible, but they can't help the athlete. So, of course, they can shout encouragement, but they can't tell them what to do. So that's a bit different from other sports. So up with the left hand into the 5, and well, a massive jump, but more of a dry fire than anything else.
Yeah, a dry fire or maybe a wet fire as he's picking up his short bag straight away. Who knows, but a fire nonetheless. He was straight out of there, but quickly back on.
Yeah, so a bit of a mistake from Tomoa. Much better this time as he hits the swing, and real aggressive climbing from him at the end.
Yeah, a different approach there. Tomoa often climbs high risk, which will play in his favour with this format, because attempts are less important, but still they do count. And we see him bump that foot up and get lots of height here. He's twisted his left wrist to get a better hold. Left hand is on the 25. He needs to move that right foot, I think, if he wants to match it, but he moves his left foot, and then his right foot is going to hopefully come in somewhere and do something. That was really smart climbing. He twisted and got that right foot, getting some stability to bring that other hand in, and you could see the roar. That was important as the clock ticked down. He was almost out of time, but he does get the top hold. It'll be just below 25 due to attempts.
So Tomoa leaves the stage. Good work from him and good footwork to make that work. The brushers entering the arena, their job is to clean up the holds because they get dirty, they get filled with chalk, and that doesn't help with friction. So that's what they have to do. And you can see someone with a fan there in the audience. It is warm here in the stadium, and we've been saying it a lot, and that makes a big difference to the friction for the athletes.
It is so warm in here. We are in a little box right now, but even out on that stage before the crowd came in, it felt warm, and then the crowd are going to make it even warmer. The crowd making it warmer, but definitely giving the athletes the energy that they need, especially on these hard boulders and definitely on the route later on.
Right, Colin Duffy comes on from the USA. He's just 19. He's looking up at the wall, of course, just 19, but he is a former Olympian. He qualified in his school holiday, in fact, when he got in. But that's behind him now, full-time athlete. And Do-Hyun Lee is on the slab as he brings his right hand up to hit the first 5 on the first time of asking, so maximum low zone points for him. Trusting that left foot as he stands up on it, and then he starts this padding over on volumes that look big, but they're hard to stand on.
You can see him reaching down there for that teeny tiny hold. He's crimping with just 1 or 2 fingers as he's moving his feet around and trying to figure out how to step his foot down to the little black hold that is in the purple. You can see a couple of black holds together. They're just stacked up to make that hold more positive to stand on, but still it is so tiny and not the best hold.
So Colin swings into the 10. Do-Hyun approaches the 25, the top of the wall. He can't use the edge of the wall. It's marked with black tape. You can see it there on the edge of your screen. He matches, and it's another top of boulder 2. He'll leave the stage, and we'll be left with Colin, who's fighting hard in the middle part of this boulder.
A different approach from Colin there, just 1 foot on, just the right foot. All the athletes we've seen have both feet high. When you've got both feet high, they're going to be in a more stable position to flick into that 25, and we could see Colin there struggling to get weight into his higher hand because he only had the right foot on, so all his weight going through his right foot and his left arm at that point. Hopefully he's able to get the left foot up either to where his hand is or onto that 10 zone so he can step up into the last hold. The last hold is an undercut, so in order to gain weight onto that, you need to build your feet high so you can stand up on the legs and bend your arm into your biceps so that he can really pull on that hold, because he can't do that from beneath it.
Colin, a very good dynamic climber. He'll enjoy this kind of a route. There is the Team USA down at the front. We were in Salt Lake for a World Cup earlier on in the year. So the team travelling across to Europe, spending a couple of months out here. Some of them going back and forth, some staying. A couple of them hitting some outdoor spots along the way, as well as just pulling on plastic. He's got 1:40 on the clock to get this done. And you can see our current leaderboard. Now that leaderboard's hard to sometimes tell what's going on because there's 2 boulders, and do bear that in mind, that some athletes will be ahead provisionally because the others have yet to climb that boulder.
Colin on his Instagram said about the semi-finals that he enjoyed every second on the wall and was able to execute well in both boulder and lead. He's been ramping up towards this event all season and he's mega psyched. Things are clicking together at the right time.
There we go, it's all about peaking, isn't it? That left ankle, you can see strapped up there. It's an earlier injury that has been niggling away at him and explains some of his performances earlier on in the season. Right, he rotates his feet through, hits the right, bumps up really straight, no drop knees in there.
No, and looking for a left foot, he gets it in by his hand, reaches up to the 25, but not enough height. He wouldn't stand up onto that left foot because all his weight is going through the right foot, and the right hand that he's got is so terrible, he's not able to pull on it. He's really going to have to drive through that left leg if he wants to make that method work.
So Colin goes again, up to the 5, hits the 10, he's keep on climbing. Lots of power being used here from Colin as he matches once more, and he knows he's got to be quick here. Maybe looking for 2 attempts if this one goes wrong. Goes for the splits. Now he turns the knee a little. Misses the left, and this is going to be draining his power with 10 seconds to go. Left again, and that will be it for him. And look, he sat down there, head in his hand. I think that just shows what they're going through because it's boulder number 1 and already he's battling those emotions.
He is, and I think what he was going through there in that moment was figuring out the right, correct beater with his feet. So he stepped his left foot up only on that last attempt with not a lot of time left, knowing that if he was able to figure out the right sequence of hands, he would have been able to stick that 25. These points are so important and it changes how we see the climbers approaching the climb. He pushed right to the very end because those 25 points were so close to get. He also knows that Do-hyun just flashed because he was out on the mats at the same time and suddenly Do-hyun was gone.
So close for Colin, but not the maximum points. Right, Adam goes on towards the slab. And Toby Roberts comes on for the first time. He's just 18, first full World Cup season, which is pretty crazy to think about because, you know, a year and a bit ago, no one was talking about Toby Roberts really outside of the outdoor scene, really. And then he came on to the World Cup circuit, and this year has found, well, it's just an incredible debut year, really, for him. And now he's one of the favourites to take an Olympic ticket.
He is, but he did have some mixed results throughout this World Championships in the single disciplines, but he's really put it all down in the semi-final, having a really, really good round. And he's going to be wanting to push and give everything he can tonight, as are all the guys out here. But we've talked about pressure, and interestingly, if we look at Adam on M2 now, the last 2 athletes coming out and flashing this and just adding that pressure on, and I think we can see it mounting as Adam starting to struggle with his first few attempts, but he's really getting stuck in now.
Yeah, he needs to be confident with his movements here. Of course, Adam has been on the scene for a long time, and experience does count for something. It's like youth versus experience sometimes, you know. Do you like the new school style of climbing like Toby does, or are you someone like Adam who can got all that to fall back on, to pull on his experience? And look how small that hold is. He's just got his fingertips on it. Creeping his left foot down. Now he's on top and then he slid it down to that hold, which is good. But he's going to do this quite dynamically, I think, and everyone else has gone super slow here. Oh, but he hits the fall over to the left, makes the match, and that's 25 for Adam.
And you could see his hips shifted to the left, his right foot creating tension, stopping the barn door, and really, really great movement from Adam. And working to his strengths, keeping the foot low, he knew exactly how far he could reach. He knows his body so well. We know Adam's capable of incredible stuff. But to come back after flustering on the start a couple of times, it was really good to see Adam find his flow there.
So Adam leaves, job done for him. Toby still has to fight on, and he's got just under 2 minutes to do it. And at the moment, this move not happening for him. He's got the low zone, but that high zone is far away at the moment.
It really is, and he has made progress on these first few attempts. He looked very far off the paddle initially. There he seemed to hit the jib. Again, he needs to gain some height, thrusting more with his hips into the movement so that he can hit bent arm. We saw with some other climbers, taking Adam as an example, he was really struggling to hold the jib, so on the second hold on the 10 zone, and then when he did stick it, his arms were bent. He was so much higher. So Toby needs to gain a lot of height here, through his legs, into his hips, and then pull on that first hold, stick the second. Again, straight arms. He looks like he's slipping on that first hold. Maybe his skin's not feeling great, or maybe his body or his mind, we don't know. But if he can get a better movement throughout that start, we can definitely see Toby stick this hold. However, he only has a minute left to go.
Yeah, and he hasn't touched the top of it either. So even if he gets through that, he's kind of blind into that top section. So we'll have to see for time. Big moment for him as he pulls on once more. Hits that coordination pop. Better on the jib, but sliding off it, and it's all his body kick flowing to the right.
Yeah, his body keeps moving as his hands hit the right position. What he needs to do is ideally stop his momentum as quickly as possible as soon as his hands are in the position to hold on. It's a really difficult thing to do. It's not as easy as saying it out loud, and also figuring that out in the moment on stage is not easy in the slightest.
It is not. Right, he pulls on again. 12 seconds. It's not going to be enough time, and he leaves. And Toby Roberts with a 5, the only athlete so far not to get the high zone on Boulder 1.
Yeah, and we know how important these points are. Toby knows how important these points are. He needs to get backstage, let that boulder go, all focus shift onto what's next. It's a hard position to be in, especially when you know there have been tops, or you've maybe heard that there are tops. So there's still a lot of climbing left, but an unfortunate start for Toby, and we know that he's capable of doing boulders like this.
Right, next up, and our final athlete, Serato Anraku, runs out, the 16-year-old. Again, we didn't really know much about him before this season, and boy, do we now. And then Jakob Schubert over on the left. He's on the slab. Let's see if he continue his run of form from topping that first boulder.
I mentioned that Do Hyun Lee was one of 2 athletes that was in both of our single discipline finals with lead and boulder. Serato is the other athlete, and showing there why he was in that final.
Yeah, he's been on everyone's lips this week for one of the potential here. And whereas with some athletes you wonder about nerves, I'm not sure with Serato. He just seems so calm the whole time. And look at this on his flash go. He's 1 move away from a full 25. Just needs to match now. Trying to find that right arm, but he drops it.
You say just needs to match, making it sound simple.
It's easy. Just bring your hand in, for goodness sake.
You could see he was palming really hard with the right hand and trying to compress between those 2 holds. I do think he needs to make some changes to where his feet are there to get that match. But we see Jakob now making his way through the slab. Jakob openly admits he's not the biggest fan of slab climbing, so the fact that he's already in the 10 is great from him. And we're seeing him start to work his body to the left in order to get that foot. He's going to go hand down first, and then he's going to use that, even though it is so tiny, to step the left foot across when he feels in a position where he's comfortable to do that.
Right, creeping that foot down, hits the hold. Good work from him. And you can see the rubber on the bottom of his shoe, and he wipes his left hand as well. Trying to get any sweat and moisture off for possible. He knows how precise this next move is. And if he's going to go dynamically, you've got to hit that jib you can see up there, or you want to anyway. But he's not, he's creeping into it. Gets it now as Serato swings into our screen.
We know that the slab climb, it was set to go dynamically, and we've not seen many athletes do that yet, but it looks like Jakob is setting up to do that. He hits it with one hand. Really impressive back step for him. That was beautiful climbing from Jakob on a slab. Not his favourite, but his second top of the round. Jakob is having a great night.
Now, a few people have asked me about the tape, and you could see there his left elbow was pressing on the tape, but it wasn't over the other side of it, and that's the difference. You can't wrap your hand around that tape, but you can touch it. So Serato, and we're kind of used to this pattern now. Boulder 2 seems, well, as we can see, very toppable, whereas Boulder 1 we always return to the athlete on the stage because they've still got work to do.
I for a second thought you were saying we're used to seeing Serato sat on the mat, and
No,
I was
we are
thinking,
not.
I'm not very used to that.
No, he's usually topping things out.
I mentioned earlier Serato talking about not focusing on the Olympics here. He said on his Instagram that he is now on the real stage where he wants to be. Ticket to the Olympics, I don't care. I just want to win the boulder and lead. Calm down and empty his head. So Serato, we want to see you win too, but we want to see everyone win. It is so hard, but we know there's a lot of action yet to come.
There is indeed. 56 seconds on the clock. Serato, the last athlete out on boulder 1, and then we'll say goodbye to it. Focus on boulders 2 and 3 next. So he's chalking up, approaching in, and that sort of calmness you can see in his face. Although he's working hard, he doesn't look particularly flustered most of the time.
And making light work of this start, being able to repeat it every single time.
Right, we know how close he got before. It looks like he's going to go left first. He does, but now it leaves you a hard foot move and he drops down. That's better from him, but he's got to work out the feet in that position. Jakob Schubert, Jakob Schubert the only climber, and Tomoe Narasaki, the only climbers to do that. But big encouragement from the Japanese team.
And a different set of results to maybe what you would imagine if you've watched previous rounds of this competition. Jakob, he hasn't been having the best boulder rounds. In the combined semi-finals, we saw Jakob get 44.8, and by his own admission, he knew that he had to have the climb of his life if he wanted to be in this final, the climb of his life on lead, where he did top it. So we know Jakob is really, really good on lead and can get that 100 points.
Well, I think we're going to get a scoreboard again. So Jakob currently leading the way, 49.7. Remember, this is out of a maximum 100. And we won't see the maximum score because everyone has dropped a few attempts along the way. Doheny in second and Paul Gempt third. But do remember that, as we can see, we're seeing another boulder. So it's hard to 100% know who's winning at that moment. Now, this boulder, apparently the easiest one out there, and yet on the steepest bit of wall. And for people who are new to comp climbing, that's a sort of confusing concept. You'd think the steeper it gets, the harder it gets, but not always the case.
Definitely not always the case. Sometimes, often not the case in competition climbing. We know the athletes are capable of climbing very physical, powerful boulders, and we know the route setters are great at setting and testing their abilities on all angles. The setters have guidelines to work to, ensuring that we have a mix of styles out there on the wall so it is as fair as possible. But all of these athletes need to be prepared and ready for anything that the route setters put out there. The way these athletes train and how they train for every eventuality is relentless.
It is, so they are fully ready for this. And sometimes it just depends on how you're feeling on the night and if the boulder sets suit you. But as you said, the setter's trying to get a range of boulders out there. So Paul pulls on to M3. Those starting holds indicated by the green lines. That's one limb per line. And look how complicated that stacked series of holds are coming up. They're no texture and they're to prevent a toe hook, although he's trying it. But feet first through there wasn't intended.
It wasn't. They're actually to prevent a toe hook later on, so at the end of the climb, but working well to prevent a toe high from Paul there. It's a complicated series of movements through this middle section that Paul's on right now. He wants his hands the other way around. Ideally, if he's to make this next move, that was what was intended. But we know the athletes often try to figure out their own way. And Paul here, you can see flicking his hands around. Tomoe, on the other hand, making very light work of that slab. And suddenly, that slab is a crucial 25 points to gain for all of the athletes if they want to stay in the running.
It's interesting there with Paul when he reached up, because as you said, the setter's intended hands the other way around, but he came close with that left hand, so it might tempt him to try that again with a bit more oomph. But there is an easier way through this, but it's hard to see it.
It's very difficult to read. The setters know that, and they know there are multiple methods that are possible, but the easiest method isn't very obvious. And we can see Paul, he was looking around, his eyes darting, puffing cheeks. He doesn't seem to know the way he wants to climb that. I wonder if he even knows how he got there, because he spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. And part of competition climbing is being able to process what you did on the wall on that attempt, take all that information in, climb as efficiently as possible to the point where you fell off, and figure out what to do, whether that's on the mat or on the wall, and deciding all of that in such a short amount of time.
This time he reaches again with that toe in and kind of cam it. So he's got a similar position, but you can see no feet available here.
He is using a really good heel hook. You can see he's locked his foot in against the wall, making it up to that 10, an important 10 points, but I'm not sure if he can get out of it. He's looking to try and hand jam. Worth a go, but I don't know if it's going to work. He's moved his hand back onto the 10 zone. He just looks in such an awkward position. He's fighting, he's trying to kick that foot up and do whatever he can to get out of it, but he's not found a way to move. However, an important 10 points to gain. He'll be just below the 10 due to attempts, so losing 0.1 per attempt.
Yeah, Paul staying in touch with the leaders, Tomoe Narasaki and Jakob Schubert. They're both on 49.7. A lot of this boulder comp is just staying close. If you give yourself too much work to do in lead, as we've seen, generally it's a no-go. Although Mori did do that last night. She had a fantastic lead round and managed to pull back a disappointing boulder score. So it's possible, just make your life a bit harder later on.
In the semi-final, we saw Paul get an 84.3 in boulder and a 42 in lead, so suggesting that he's feeling much better in boulder potentially, but he's going to need to get more points on the board if he wants to do the same thing again.
Yeah, and he's doing a similar method. I mean, he got close to it. Up with that knee, he's pressing his knuckles into the no-tech surface, palm or fingertips into the zone hold. So awkward on the shoulders though as he's twisting it around.
And you can see he's having to fight to just be in that position, let alone move. And he looks a little beat up from this climb. That was a very physical effort for him.
So Paul leaves, the clock ticks down, and we'll have our next rotation through. It's brushes coming in. The lead wall on the left over there, you can go and watch that broadcast. And we've had a whole load of broadcasts throughout the week. Paraclimbing, speed, individual boulder and lead. And if you've missed any of the action but you don't want to watch a full broadcast, we have highlights on the World Climbing Club on the IFSC YouTube channel with behind the scenes interviews, action and more. So go and check that out and subscribe while you're there. Do-Yeon Lee is on, as is Colin Duffy. And I'm excited to see how Do-Yeon finds this boulder. It might suit him.
Do-Yeon almost seemed surprised, and the way he wrote on his social media that he was in the combined finals. He was only one of 2 athletes in this final to have made both the lead and boulder single discipline finals. So I'm not sure many people were surprised, but Do-Yeon seemed to be.
Now we're in Korea at the beginning of the season. We filmed some content in Jungwon Chon's gym. Oh, look at this, a figure 4. A move coming from ice climbing, kind of wrapping it around. I'm not sure. Oh, there we go, it works. That's amazing.
I was shaking my head in disbelief there that I didn't think that was going to work, but wow, that was really impressive from him to see that and execute it, make it work. But now it is not over. There's a hard match. He needs to get both hands where his right hand is. He tried to get that toe hook in, clever setting, just prevent that on such a big hold. He's toe hooking the volume as he comes into match. The last hold is good, but he needs to not swing too much. He didn't quite get the height, but wow, that was a great effort from him and really fun to watch.
One of those attempts where the route setter just goes, you know what, it's one of those things, because that was outside of the box thinking from Do-Yeon Lee. And we're watching Colin Duffy as he attempts to get that foot on, but as you can see, really low on the hold, and it made that stretch to the left quite difficult.
Yeah, but what he did there was quite clever. He leant really far to the right, taking all of his weight onto his right foot and then slowly edging to the left to get that left foot out and in control.
He's going really dynamically into this. Oh, the full lean casual before he matches it. That's a good top from Colin Duffy, helping his score, moving him up. That was awesome to see. It was like in slow motion there when he leaned to the left.
It was. He seemed so casual and so comfortable. I think he knew as soon as he hit that top hold that he could hold on to it no matter what. Nothing was bringing him down. He just looked really relaxed. Something we see Colin do often is when he does hit a hold, especially in lead, he's able to move through a move that is difficult for him and relax as soon as he needs to. And that leads to him climbing very efficiently on a lead wall and also on a boulder wall too, as we've just seen right now.
Yeah, he's won boulder and lead comps before. Innsbruck last year for Colin, he got the double, 2 golds for 2 disciplines, so more than capable in the same week. Yeah, so incredible from him. All right, Do-Hyun Lee's got a minute 28. Can't wait to see if he busts out the same sequence of moves here, because the way he tried to do that before was pretty exhausting, really powerful with that fig four.
I don't agree. I think it was quite efficient for him because it meant that he wasn't hanging around for very long. Yes, it wasn't the sequence intended, but look, he's shaking out in that fig four. I think he's pretty comfortable there.
Yeah, he's making it look good, isn't he? Well, standing up now on the slab and much better as well into the crimps. He had a toe hook in before, which made the swing quite hard to release. He's choosing to have his feet lower this time.
He has a right toe hook in, which is allowing him to match, but it is going to be hard to release. We see him flick up, and we know that hold is good if you hit it in control without a swing. That toe hook just pulling him off a little bit there. He now only has 38 seconds on the clock. It's not a lot of time. It's quite a physical boulder, although he's climbing efficiently, but without a rest, it's going to be hard for him to get back up there. I do hope we get to see him attempt this last move again, though.
Yeah, he didn't rest long. 25 seconds on the clock, hits it again. Oh, falls down with it underneath his leg there. Luckily he managed to get it out the way so he could catch his fall. And that's it for Do-Hyun. Looks back with sort of a lost look at his face, an if only face.
Yeah, it's hard to walk away when you feel like you've been so close. He had that 25 points in one hand. He wasn't able to get 2 hands there. That boulder is gone forever. They never get to try it again. And although there's frustration building that you didn't get it done on the clock and in the time, I think sometimes it is just really annoying not to get another go.
Yeah, they can't climb it again, can they? Well, that was the top of Colin Duffy's, and that was how close Do-Hyun Lee got. Fingers exploding off it at the moment.
Just maybe not getting quite enough height into that move. If he'd been too high, he wouldn't have held on, but he needed a little bit more height to hit that with a slightly bent arm, potentially. Very, very slight, because it's not the best hold, but it is good enough, and I do think we'll see some tops on this boulder.
I can't wait to see Adam on this. He tends to do odd moves, does Mr. Adam Ondrup, so I'm excited to see what he can make work with his feet going through this. I think he might try a similar kind of high foot, perhaps. Like Toby, he needed to go away and recompose, and this is the perfect opportunity to do that because he has to slow down a bit on this slab.
He does, and he's been open about the fact that he's been working on slab climbing because he's lost some competitions to slabs, but he's looking composed here. And Adam is fighting through this roof. Yeah,
he got a heel in down low, which steadied him. He's into the high zone. Adam looking more comfortable here than Do-Hyun Lee did.
Both athletes approaching the 25. Toby opting for a right hand there, just pinging off a different method to what we've seen other athletes do, but he did look confident. Meanwhile, Adam sets up for the top hold, left toe hook in. They did not prevent Adam Ondrup from toe hooking. Look what that means. Look how excited he is.
Well, he knows how important it was. He was drifting a little behind up to that point, and that's pulled him back into the running. So Adam back in the game with that one. And for Toby, he's got to ignore that crowd. And look, he's being stopped by the judge. So that's the starting position I talked about with the green lines. So 3 on the big volume, 1 on there. And I didn't see the starting position, but whatever it wasn't quite right.
He just wouldn't have tapped or touched the 3rd tape, so he would have probably pulled on matching. An easy mistake to make, especially with all of the distraction going on. Toby is definitely gaining so much experience throughout these competitions, and you can see that he was pulled off by the judge, but straight back onto this final move. So really good that he's able to recompose, but a little slip there, almost saved it. He does have time for more attempts, but slight little mistakes, just maybe suggesting he's feeling a little bit nervous and the pressure after not getting the higher zone on the first boulder. But there's a lot more climbing to go. I expect he also knows that the slab has been topped and that he needs to do it to stay in the race. So he does really need to focus on that composure right now.
Yeah, you get the feeling he needs a top to settle him down here. So let's see if he can do it this time. Left foot up, screwing that in. Lots of rubber on the hold. heels down as he steps over, matches the zone. But it's this move he's falling on at the moment. Ooh, nearly went again there, saved it with the right palm. Laser focused on that next series of holes, but you've got to trust.
He ideally needs to bring his right hand down a little bit so he's got the length to step his left foot. You saw that slight adjustment with the right hand, giving him enough space to go to the left foot hold. We've seen all athletes that stuck this last hold go with the left hand. Toby opted with the right first attempt. It looks like he's maybe going to do the same thing again.
Oh, creeping over with the right hand. He's about a foot away from this. Hits it, but just changing hands would make all the difference. And I don't think he's seen it yet.
He's leaning and leaning and leaning, really trying to get the weight onto his left foot, but what's happening when he reaches up right hand, he's having to go quite dynamically, a little pop, which is then unsettling his body position and pulling him off the wall. The other athletes going with their left hand were able to create tension between their hand and their feet in order to keep really parallel with the wall. Some athletes opting to step their foot back to stop the barn door, whereas because Toby's going with the right hand, he's not able to do that.
So he bumps into the 10 again, makes the match. He's got this as his last go, and he really needs to figure out this left hand or find some magic with the right. 15 seconds. A great effort getting to that move as the clock's clicking down. I really hope we see him get to that 25 as he sets up, reaches. Just 5 seconds left on the clock, and that will be the top for Toby. And he needed that as well. So back and forth here in this men's boulder final. A
little jump in the air. It's great to see that he was able to enjoy that moment, let the frustration go. He needed that. What a great effort from him to really take all of that pressure off as he pulled on that last moment with so little time to go and getting the 25 points.
Yeah, we watched Adam as well. He was another one who needed a top and another one with a big reaction. Huge reaction, in fact.
I will never tire of watching how much Adam Ondra loves to top boulders and routes. You can see just how excited he is when he hits the mat, jumping in the air, emotion always displayed on his face.
Serato runs on, as does Jakob Schubert. And Jakob Schubert is having a great round at the moment, so he needs to keep this rolling here. He's capable of doing this boulder. And then Serato, let's see if he's feeling slabby this evening as he goes over to the left. It's coming up to 5 p.m. Central European time, this final a little earlier than the women's last night. And Serato stands up and we get our first look at him on this. So left foot out, so far no problems. And that high zone beckoning as he hits it with the left hand, and he'll get the points here.
Serato looking smooth. It almost looks like pressure doesn't exist for this guy. I wonder if he gets nervous. I would love to ask him. Maybe I will. We're in the same hotel. Every breakfast, just looking calm and casual, just as he is here on this slab. A smooth transition with his hips. I talk about hips a lot. That was a great demonstration of how to use movement efficiently and effectively. Meanwhile, Jakob nearing the 25 on his first attempt, I believe. But what can he do? Can he make the toe hook work where the setters have tried to stop him?
Yeah, he wants it in, doesn't he? He has made it work. So he's camming it in, pressing the rubber into the top of the hold. And look at this from Jakob. He's just broken. I mean, the reason they stacked those holds was to prevent that. Jakob found a way.
He did. I expect the route setters might be very surprised. But Jakob, wow, what a round he's having. He is so far ahead of his score in the semi-finals in Boulder, and we know it in the semi-finals. He got a 100 on the lead route. This guy is on fire tonight.
Yeah, from nowhere, Jakob. And we know he's good at big occasions, sure. But to do what he's done in the last couple of days is really impressive from him, and from this young man as well, Serato. And something Jakob said was that he just wants to pass on knowledge a little bit to Serato especially, and it's nice to see them both performing.
Yeah. Paul spoke about the fact that there's fatigue accumulating from the rounds, but it doesn't look like it is for Jakob. He's just getting better and better, stronger and stronger, and we know that he can really put it down when it counts, performing in the moments when it matters. Jakob Schubert at the top of the leaderboard.
So he's on 74.7, then Adam 59.5, then Tomoe Narasaki 49.7. Followed by Do-Hyun Lee, he's in the 40s, 45. Below him, Paul Jempt, Serato and Raku, although he's coming back. Colin Duffy, then Toby Roberts. And we will just pause things a little here as we take a brief break in proceedings.
So the athletes that we see on screen right now, remember 4 of them are still yet to climb on Boulder 3, so these scores won't stay the same, they will definitely change, and all athletes still yet to climb on Boulder 4. There is a lot more climbing left to go, and these results actually not suggestive of where the athletes actually are, because they haven't all climbed on the same amount of boulders yet, so don't get confused if the results look different to what you expected. There's still a lot of climbing to go.
There is, halfway through now, and we'll watch some highlights here of the what we've seen already. This is Paul on that first boulder. Big shouldery moves and a drop down from him.
I talked about Paul saying that the fatigue accumulates, but he did say his motivation grows every day.
Yeah, all of the athletes aiming high here this week. And the women's was last night a really good competition. Janja Garnbret, incredible, as she always is. So go and have a look at that. And this is Team Austria there. And Jakob's eyes down at his coach, down at the judges, and a big fist bump from him. And Shauna, you were part of the process that helped select this scoring system, and it's something that it's very hard to get right, because when we combine 2 events that are usually separate, trying to work out how on earth you score that, bring new people into the sport. I can't imagine how many meetings you had with calculators out, you guys, trying to figure it out. And of course, it was a group process. It wasn't just you on that. But just talk to us a little bit about those decisions that was made.
Yeah, it was a huge team, and it is a really, really difficult thing to do. There was a lot of different methods tested, and I could talk about those, but tonight we're focusing on this. So this method of combining the 2 disciplines is very, very different because of the point system and it taking away from the ranking. And there are athletes talking about how they did in certain rounds. Jakob saying he had a terrible boulder round, finishing in 18th, but actually his ranking didn't matter so much. It was all about the number of points that he got. And it also is very exciting going into the final boulder or going into the lead route, because suddenly as the round progresses, you get more of an idea of how important it is to get the amount of points and where an athlete needs to get on the route to get into the podium or to get an Olympic spot, and also for watching semi-finals to get into the finals. It changes the way we view the sport, I think, but it makes it very exciting, and it's definitely making me better at maths.
It is indeed. We had the calculators out last night, and yeah, people are enjoying this format, and I like it because it changes climbing. It feels like it changes climbing, and not for the worst. It's an exciting comp all the way to the very end. Our attention is caught.
It does. It feels like it changes the competition slightly, but ultimately the climbing's the same, right? What they're doing on the wall, they're fighting to the bitter end and pushing themselves. The boulders may be slightly longer to get those 2 zones in. The routes in very distinct sections to make it easier to understand where the points are. And I really, really enjoy having the point numbers on the wall, both in boulder and lead. I don't know, I think it adds something extra for both the viewer and for the crowd here. You know, they suddenly seem to be getting way more invested, it almost feels like.
Exactly. Right, well, we're on men's 4 here. More coordination style as we watch Tomoe Narasaki work his way through this boulder. Again, a little different with the beta, which is really cool to see, but this part fairly similar. Right foot underneath in the toe hook, matching that hold, bumping over to the right, and he's got a big move up, and he's got to cut that toe. Flicks it out, holds it, good finger strength, and again Tomoe with the big screen. This boulder means a lot to these athletes.
It really does. In less than a minute, Tomoe showing how important it is to fight, and wow, Paul making the last move, making such good use of toe hooks the whole way through that climb. That was an exciting rotation, and Paul, that was really cool. And Tomoe, wow, I almost don't know what to say.
So Paul leaves with the final score on the board. That will help his score, bumps it up. So Paul on 69.8 from him.
And if you hear a very loud cheer from one of the French athletes, I imagine it'll be Mejdi. Paul and Mejdi climb together. Mejdi just missing out on this combined final, finishing in 9th. His dream is to be at the Olympics with Paul, one of his best friends. So yeah, he'll be down in that crowd screaming at the top of his lungs. He wants to see Paul get a ticket here.
And that was the final part of that route from the French athlete. Got the high toe, making sure of the match. And we didn't see too much of that boulder, but we'll get more opportunities in a minute.
We didn't, and we know the ending is wild, but Paul doing it a very different way to what was expected. I do wonder if other athletes will attempt the same or maybe change things up with the beta. It's yet to be seen, but we get to see 7 more athletes on that last boulder.
The volunteer just moving the water bottle out of the way there for Colin. We didn't want him to land on that or trip over it perhaps. Do-Hyun Lee is on the bottom of this boulder, so good chance to check it out. And it is all coordination this. So he drops into it, hits it. Colin goes feet loose through that move. And now what's he going to do here? So bicepy to pull up on that left arm.
It is, but he's got the high foot, and because he got that high foot, he was able to come and pull into the bicep. Both athletes on the 10 right now and looking for the 25 on their first attempts.
Yeah, Do-Hyun starts to swing. He wants to land, hits it precisely, holds the second swing. And from here, as long as he can figure out the feet, and it is a fairly easy match. He didn't use any feet, so ignore what I was saying. But Colin is trying to use feet, and what's he going to do?
Do-Hyun almost looking disappointed with that climb. I wonder if it felt easier than maybe he wanted. Colin gets the toe hook in and proving to the route setters that these guys, doesn't matter how much you block a toe hook, they will make it work, and that 25 points seeming very necessary. But our earlier athletes struggling to get that.
They were. So route setters are going to be sitting in those deck chairs thinking, how on earth did that happen? They do test these routes all night sometimes, making sure they're as perfect as possible. And it is a good round, high scoring, but it's exciting at the moment. And we've got 3 in the 70s and the rest below that. So it's close. And if it stays similar to this, it's going to make for an exciting lead round later on. Do-Hyun Lee, that was the no feet through there. We saw Paul get a high toe, but Do-Hyun didn't need it.
No, I don't think the match is necessarily that difficult, just showing the athletes different styles. However, setting up into that last move will really show what preference the athletes have in movement.
All right, Toby's out, Adam's out. It's fun, these two climbing together. And we saw a great shot earlier on of Toby looking over at Adam's celebrations. And we talked about maybe he was a little distracted by that, but he kept it together and topped the other boulder, so.
And maybe he was just looking at the clock.
That's true, maybe he was, but you know, I'm trying to bring a little bit of drama here. All right, Adam is off the ground. He's got his hands in a strange position.
Yeah, he had a weird setup there, probably opting for the best position that felt right in order to get into the movement, into the transition move. So he's going to be going from a really good position because the jug's so good, through an awkward, but into a good jug as well. Toby starting to stand up. He bumped his left foot up there. Like I said earlier, if he can bend his arms, step up with his feet, he's going to feel much better. I think he's crimping the no texture stack with his right for a second there. We see him reach up now. He's got a lot of pressure on him, but he's looking really controlled right now. He wants these points to get back in the running, so he's going to need to climb really well through this last move, which we know is definitely droppable, but we do see him take the toe hook up. He's making it work, one hand on the 25. He needs to get the points, but he is fighting right now.
He is, and he makes the match. Good work from Toby Roberts. As he waves to the crowd, he comes down, and that important boulder is done. Adam in the background is still fighting on though, and he's got just under 3 minutes to do it.
Coming back to Toby there to do that after having a tough first boulder, not the second boulder he would have wanted. Yes, a great finish, a great buzzer beater, best of the round yet, but to come out, stay composed and climb that third boulder knowing it's possible, the pressure waiting. He'll have heard the screams from the tops. A really mature performance from Toby.
He's done, he's gone. Adam's left alone, hits the 5, hits the swing over. This is great from Adam as he goes up. Right, one more big swing to go. He needs to kick off that blue volume, then land on it as he goes. Comes in, hits the end, and we know it should be fairly simple from here, and it is for Adam. That's a top for him.
A huge swing into that 1, 2, 3 at the end. His hands moved so fast. He did not want to have to try that again, and he doesn't need to, because he now gets the 25, but it will be minus quite a few attempts as he tried to get that first section dialed.
We're seeing now the top for Toby. He swung over, made the match. And I wonder perhaps whether the setters put that stacked in, and because we keep talking about the toe, maybe they were just doing it to make it more difficult like that rather than impossible, perhaps. I'm not sure, but certainly the athletes making it work at the moment.
Athletes making it work, but we've seen all athletes have to concentrate so hard to get that toe hook in. So the stack, maybe not necessarily preventing it, but definitely making it much more difficult to make that movement work, and suggesting that there might be another method. So playing with the athletes' minds all the time. These route setters will be working relentlessly hard to make these boulders as perfect as possible. They do such a great job, and we are enjoying watching them tonight.
We are. Serato is in. Let's see what he does. Oh, now he's done this method, and this is what they intended. So we're seeing something, and they said there was multiple methods, of course, but Serato getting it done the way they thought it was, and it did look easier that way.
It did look easier. We know that it's supposed to be the easier method, twisting through that lower section, and the crowd love to see it. It makes a great picture. Serato not opting for the high toe just yet. He may change, but it looks like he's going to flick. He has climbed this boulder exactly how the route setters intended. I think he's made them very happy, so thank you, Serato.
Quick top from him, and Jakob is in as well. He's got the high zone, swings out with the foot, and he's starting this swing over towards the right. Now, we haven't seen many people drop it from here. Let's see what Jakob can do. He hits it, and it will be a fantastic round here for Jakob Schubert. That is 4 out of 4, and he's way out into the, well, it'll be upgraded nearly to into the 90s here. Awesome from Jakob as he leaves the stage.
Really great climbing from Jakob. He has 99.6 going into the lead round. He got 100 points on the lead semi-finals route. This is an amazing night for Jakob Schubert. His dad and his sister are in the crowd. They are going to be losing their minds right now.
I think I'm losing my mind. What a comp this is. So hit the right. He stood up nice and clean on that, and Serato as well, super calm as he brought that right foot over, made the match. No massive celebration from him, keeping it calm. And this was the end for Jakob. We know once you've got that right hand in, it's fairly simple to finish things off, and he did.
I expect maybe feeling a little bit of relief after that final boulder, processing all of those emotions. That guy's going to be feeling so good right now, but he needs to keep it under control. He's got a lead route to go where he knows he can perform, but we also know that mistakes can happen, especially in lead with only one attempt on that route. Anything can happen still in this final.
Now, I've been told by our team there's an appeal on Do Hyun Lee, and you can have a look at the appeals on the IFSC app, which is available. We're not sure what the appeal's about, but just to keep you updated, and I'll let you know when we find out more. Tomoe Narasaki, meanwhile, comes on to boulder number 4, and we will now just focus on one boulder. The rest of them have finished for this evening with all the athletes making their rotation through. So we've got Tomoe, Colin, Toby and Serato to come on this one before we say goodbye to the boulder. Have a pause. And Jakob Schubert, 99.6. Adam Ondra after that with a 4 done on 84.1. Whereas Do Hyun Lee has 70 with the 4. And Paul Gem, 69.8. Those are the athletes who have climbed. And look at this from Tomoe. Super smooth through here.
We talked earlier about the new school style. I feel like it's maybe not so new school because Tomoe feels like he invented it. This boulder is something that we would normally expect him to be cruising through. Very aggressive into that final swing. Maybe too aggressive, but he made it work with the fast hands and a quick, well, a flash from him, a very quick send. And again, less than a minute.
Good work from Tomoe. And you're right about making up moves. He made one up in speed as well, or one was named after him, certainly. And you can discover that full story on the World Climbing Club, where we had a special interview with him in front of that speed wall you can see in the background. The Tomoe skip in speed. Something that he came up with. French flags waving down at the front. And only a couple of athletes to go here, Shauna. This is a quick moving competition so far.
It is. It's much more fast-paced than we've seen in previous rounds with climbers doing very quick tops. That's not to say that they aren't hard boulders. These climbers have prepared significantly for this moment.
Next athlete out, Colin Duffy enters the stage. That USA team jersey. He had Brooke Rabatou in the finals yesterday from USA, so the USA coaches, busy people as they're working to prepare these athletes for these big pressure moments.
Yeah, and USA already gaining an Olympic spot in speed, so yeah, they've had a busy few days, that's for sure.
Colin immediately flowing through, and he's good at these kind of sequences too. His new school style you mentioned. Satter's challenging the athletes in their coordination as well.
A little hesitation here, maybe not quite feeling the right setup and feeling as comfortable as he'd like. It looked like he just didn't find the right position to kind of explode out of. The pocket that they've got, so the 5 zone, is a really positive pocket, and it almost seems to unsettle the athletes because it's such a comfortable hold. They don't want to let go of it, but I think we'll see him make a big adjustment and look much more comfortable in that setup. He does. He's way faster into it, hits the high yellow, palm on the blue triangle, and just choking up one-handed on the 10.
Casual as he liked from Colin Duffy. He starts the swing, tick-tocking back right to left. Huge swing, hits the final hold. And another little cut loose as he gets the big high toe. And that's another top on Boulder 4. What's the scoreboard? It will change from the 2 lines, fill all the way up, and that jumps him up to 3rd place, 84.7. Oh, this is setting up for an incredible lead comp later on.
It's a very, very high scoring round. We haven't seen this yet. It's definitely making a lot more pressure, it feels, on the lead wall. But we've said that when it's a low scoring round, so there's always pressure on the lead route.
Yeah, it just depends how you look at it, doesn't it? With the athletes, though, so neck and neck, it's going to be tight later on. So don't go anywhere if you're watching us. This was Colin Duffy swinging through the moves, hitting the right hand, and no problems on the last match. For a moment, it looks like he was going to one-arm campus that, but he decided to put a foot on and made the match easily.
He did. It's always best to stay as secure as possible, especially when going for the match. No one wants to see a slip before a match, that's for sure. He hit this match here. He took a minute, head in his shoulders, just having a moment to himself before dropping down. Little mini celebration. No extreme celebrations on this last climb as of yet, and I think that's because it's maybe not the most difficult climb. These athletes, they want to have difficult climbs. They want it to be hard. They want it to be a battle out there on the wall. However, an easier climb does add pressure. People often talk about if a boulder's topped by everybody, it almost doesn't count. In my opinion, it counts more because the one person that doesn't do it, or if one person doesn't do it, then it really matters.
Yeah, and look at that scoreboard. Everyone getting it so far with the athletes who have attempted it. So as you said, pressure mounts on Toby here as he takes a moment to figure out the feet. Awkward press, but it works, so that's good. And into the bottom hold.
Yeah, turning our heads there as he went for that move. Not the intended method, but making it work for him, and that's all that matters.
So he's in, he goes back to the left to readjust. And although it worked, I think just a little bit out of position on that boulder. I think he might tweak things for the second go.
Potentially it did work, so maybe he'll move more comfortably into the same, confidently into the same movement. We'll yet to see. When he went for the hold where he fell off, he went very casually. Again, he's done the same sequence, so again, moving very fast into it. If he knows it works and it's not too much effort, then why not stick with the same? Here, I hope we see him make an adjustment, going much faster into that hold. A little foot slip there, not jumping into it. He's matching the 5 zone, so it's setting him up really weird. It means he's not able to pull really hard on that pocket, which is a very good hold. The athletes who've stayed more front on, so square to the wall, are able to really engage their right bicep in that pocket, using their arms to gain momentum as well as their legs. I don't know if we'll see Toby change this up. I hope we do, because this setup position here is much better for the next movement. He needs to pull, hit, and stick.
Good
and
work.
He does.
Yeah, that was well done from Toby. Good learning, and he's into the 10 now. So points on the board but he has to get this done, really. Hits the left, hits the right. From here, it should be okay. He makes the match. That is a top for Toby. And GB fans out there can breathe a sigh of relief as he finishes off his boulder.
And we've seen Toby drop very similar moves in this competition in multiple rounds. So hats off to Toby for working on that, coming out on this stage and making it happen tonight, because that 25 points, he needed that after not the round that he would have wanted.
So Toby, good work from him. He leaves.
Pull myself up there, not the round he would have wanted. He's done 3 boulders, but this is a high scoring round. Doing 4 boulders is what all of these athletes are going to want. However, they can't go back to them. Once their round is done, all eyes, all focus, their minds need to move on to that lead route.
Toby with the match at the end, did what he needed to do, and just one athlete left. So our final athlete, Sarato Anraku, runs out onto the stage. Team Japan will be on their feet in the stadium and watching at home. Japan, a real hub for bouldering. And I have got notification of the, oh no, it wasn't the appeal, so we haven't heard about that appeal yet on our official channels. So we're waiting for that to come through. But the times will be adjusted a little bit for lead later on, but we'll talk about that when Sarato is finished, because right now he's trying to figure out this first move. Hits it nicely, drops down to the 5, and he sets up in the traditional manner perhaps for this move.
Wow, and a different method for Sarato there, but he made it work for him. Such quick hand movements, really aware of his body. Smooth climbing from Sarato here.
Yeah, he comes over, hits the final hold, and that's going to be a flash for Sarato. Maximum points at the end of our round. And we will wait now for a confirmation of all the scores as we say goodbye to our Boulder comp. And of course, we'll keep you updated with what's going to happen next in the evening, because we're only halfway through. There's all to play for as we come into the lead competition. And I can tell you there's no change. We come back at 6 o'clock for the lead round. Observation at 6 o'clock. Myself and Shauna Coxey here in the commentary box will be taking you through the action.
Yeah, so Sarato looking really smooth through that first climb, last climb, but again, if we take our mind back to that first boulder, he didn't get a top on that, which is interesting, especially in a round like this. He is sat in 3rd position, however, he has 85 points. We see Jakob Schubert in 2nd with 99.6, Tomoe Naozaki with 99.7. A very, very high scoring round for the guys.
Well, we'll see the official confirmation in a sec on the screen. We're just finishing these replays. The judges are behind the scenes just working everything out. There might be a slight delay because of that appeal. So we'll let you know. Hopefully we can see at least the provisional results as they stand at the moment. Sarato finishing things off, and here they are. So Tomoe Naozaki leading the way, 99.7, huge from him. Jakob with that 99.6. Sorry, Jakob, and then Sarato after that with an 85. And then from there, Colin Duffy, Adam Ondra, Toby Roberts, Do-Hyun Lee and Paul Gempt. But everyone pretty much in touch, at least down to athlete number 5, or even further, down to 6 really with a 79. And
we know Toby topped the route in the semi-finals. That doesn't put him out of the runnings. And we know Paul can really do wonders on the lead route too, as can Do-Hyun. It's all to play for still. This is a really exciting final.
Well, what we'll do is in a minute we'll go away for a little bit. You can go and have a cup of tea if you're watching at home, have a moment to breathe, but the broadcast won't cut if you're watching us online. It'll carry on. So keep some sound on in the background, and when myself and Shauna start talking again, you'll know we're beginning. We're just finishing things off here.
You can see, looking at the boulder wall, how the boulders are a little bit longer than maybe in the other boulder rounds. I actually really like this, and I think it's so cool that we get to see those points up on the wall. It feels like you can get more of a sense of what's going on in the competition, when to cheer, when things are exciting, when it's important, and athletes going out and collecting points. I don't know, it feels like it changes it in a really great way.
Right, well, we'll show you some highlights of what we've done already, and then we'll return to the lead wall. So we will say goodbye for now and return shortly. Thank you for watching. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, whoever is watching this competition, because it is time for the lead finals of the Boulder and lead finals. We've done the bouldering bit, we're on to the lead, and Shauna, things at the table as close as you can get. I mean, compared to the women's, where a bit more spread out, almost anyone could take this men's final here tonight. I can't predict it.
Well, literally anyone could because of the results that we've got, and there is a lot of climbing left to go. However, this is the final round of a very big competition. These athletes have done so much climbing in these past 2 weeks to get to this moment, and now it's all on the line for not just Olympic tickets. There is a World Championships medal on the line as well.
Exactly, and I wanted to explain to people listening, I mean, you should know exactly who Shauna Coxey is, but Shauna, you are an ex-athlete, Olympian, you know exactly what you're talking about, and your descriptions of movement throughout the week have been incredible. And Shauna, you've been in this position before. You won an Olympic ticket at an event like this, so you know firsthand what those athletes are going through.
Yeah, I've been in this position competing for an Olympic ticket myself, and wow, it is a very, very hard place to be. There is so much going on, so much pressure. Not only are you at the biggest event in the calendar of climbing competition, you are also attempting to get an Olympic ticket, which definitely changes things, the atmosphere, the feeling and emotions, everything.
Well, let's see if those emotions can be kept in check. Well, the athletes come out and they're allowed to touch the first couple of holds, but no jumping up and touching anything else from there. But this is the opportunity for the athletes to see the route and try to work out how to climb the thing.
Yeah, so you'll see them moving around, trying to look from different angles. They'll jump off stage in a minute to look at the top two. They do tend to read from the bottom to the top. That's how they'll climb it, but they only get one attempt. Any mistake, any slip, if they don't clip the clips in order, if they stand on a bolt, for example, we do have bolt covers here, so we haven't seen that, but if they did, they would get marked down and they wouldn't be able to continue climbing. So the pressure to perform in lead is so much more than bouldering, for example, where you can have another try. They just get that one attempt. They'll get 6 minutes to read the route and then 6 minutes climbing time when it is their turn.
And you can see Jakob Schubert there with the binoculars in. Tomoa Narasaki, he's our current leader out in front, but not by much. Jakob behind him. We'll show you the results in a sec, but right now we'll focus on this because it is fascinating. I've been sitting on stage during this competition watching most of the observation periods because I feel like a bit like I'm sneaking a peek into the hidden lives of these athletes, who's talking to who and what they're doing out there. It's really interesting.
It really is. You see athletes with chalk bags on, chalking up their skin, maybe suggesting their skin isn't feeling in top tip shape or just wanting to keep it good. We see lots of athletes with binoculars, some kind of reading the route with their arms in the air, some staying quite quiet, some talking to other athletes, especially when there's teammates. We do see athletes grouping together. We've got 2 Japanese athletes in here, but all of the other nations, it's just them from their nation. So it's fascinating to watch what goes on that stage, but we get a great look at the route right now. Looks easy, but it's not. That's the start. Then coming into the power and slippage section, which means they might see some slips, feet skinning around potentially, really starting to zap their arms. Such a powerful section coming up. Lots of core strength required to move through that. And then we have the classic Fight Club. The head wall, we'll mention that it is the last section of the wall, so these yellow and black holds that you can see here, and watching athletes fight it out on the head wall is something special in lead climbing. And we've got athletes in here, multiple athletes in here, who know just how to put on a show.
I want to know who comes up with the names. I want that job. I think I'd have some outrageous things coming through. And there is a different scoring system again in the lead from a normal, and I say that with quotation marks, specialism, that doesn't make any sense, but you know what I mean, like the individual lead competition. So that isn't without this 100-point system. So we start at the bottom and go up, but the first couple of holds aren't scored. We hit our first scoring zone, and then from there we progress upwards. The higher we go on the route, the more the holds are worth, and we can see it there, Shauna, that number 1 mark. fairly low down, which is good to see because we want to start seeing points on the board. That's what we're here for.
I do always hold my breath until the athletes get to that number one. I don't want to see any slips without a score on the board. But of course, we want to see as many points as possible. In lead, the goal is to push as far as you possibly can, ultimately getting to the top if possible. However, for some athletes in here, lead isn't their speciality, so we may see athletes coming off lower down. I expect athletes will want to give the best possible performance, and we'll see that in their reaction as they come off the wall. If also, when they are on the wall, if their elbows start to rise and come up nice and high, it's a suggestion that they're starting to feel the pump. The pump is when the forearms just start to burn and hands start to open, and it's so difficult to keep climbing through that. But some of these athletes are very good at keeping climbing when it really looks like they just shouldn't be able to.
And the style of this kind of a route in the boulder and lead format alters a little bit as well, because whereas we've seen some very stopper moves in other competitions, the idea is to tire the athletes out on a route like this. It tends to be fairly endurance based, and although there are a couple of jumps along the way, we're expecting the athletes to potentially climb pretty high up there.
We are, and there are some dynamic moves, but not necessarily full-blown jumps. I don't think we'll see any dynos. That's not the intention from the route setters. There's definitely a very big dynamic move just before the head walls, the very last blue hold that you can see. Expect to see a little bit of a show on that move. A lot of cheering from the crowd going on. It should be quite a fun move to watch. We may see some athletes not able to stick that, maybe not able to hold the swing. Potentially, we just don't know yet. And as this round progresses, the crowd are going to learn more and more about this route, about when to cheer, about when to hype it. The DJ will learn more as well, so the atmosphere begins to change throughout this round. Also, as the round goes on, it's going to become very, very clear who is going to be standing on the podium tonight.
It's going to be an exciting one, and we've got 50 seconds left to go of this. And when we're talking, I mean, we'll keep our conversation private about our who we thought was going to win, who's going to do well. But Tomoa Narasaki on that top spot, more of a boulderer than a lead climber. So for him, he's going to have to climb really quickly here if he wants to progress.
He is. He tends to climb very quick. He's very high risk in his climbing, sometimes making big mistakes. In the semi-finals, he got 84.7 in boulder, and then he got 64 on lead. So quite a discrepancy in the scores there. He has won in many boulder World Cups, but we haven't seen him winning a lead World Cup. We haven't seen him on the podiums much, so suggesting he really is a boulder specialist.
All right, well, that's to come. Right now, we're going to have a look back at earlier on this evening during the boulder round. The athletes competing on 4 boulders. So we're going to check out the highlights from that. So that is our current scoreboard and the athletes who are starting off this competition. Tomoa Narasaki, 99.7. He's out in front, but only just. Jakob Schubert, 99.6. It's one attempt separating those two. Then Serato on 85. And in the 80s, Colin Duffy, Adam Ondra, up to number 5. And then Toby Roberts just into the 70s on the 79.3. Dohyun Lee, 70. Paul Gempt, 69. And Shauna, we talked about it being wide open. That's why those scores, not only are they close together, they're high.
They are high, and yes, there are 30 points between the leader and 8th place, but those 30 points can be gained very significantly as we move through the route. There are different sections to this route and different points awarded in those sections, with when we see the number 1 hold, the next 10 holds are worth 1 point each, and then next 10, 2 points each, next 10, 3 points each, and the last 10, 4 points each. So that means that if Paul were to get significantly higher than Tomoa, he can easily gain those points back, for example. So it really is wide open, it feels right now. And I can't call this in the slightest, but Jakob having a great boulder round compared to his previous boulder rounds. In the semi-finals, he finished with a 44.8 in 18th spot, and then he managed to pull that back on the lead route, getting 100 points, as did Toby. So it is still all to play for, and this lead round is going to be magnificent.
It is, and the calculators will be out both in the commentary box and with you guys at home, because we'll have to try to work out who is qualifying, where they're qualifying, and we might find out, as we did last night, halfway through, that an athlete has made it. So we'll try to keep up with it. But meanwhile, Paul pulls onto the wall, and you can see him clipping the rope through quick draws that are hanging down. That's to protect the climber if they fall. They have to clip them all, and they must do so in order. And you can see there, he's made the first 3 fairly easily. And as the description said, looks easy, but ain't, or something, whatever it said. But he's safely through the purples, whatever, and into the crimps on the black volumes.
And it's deceptive often with lead climbing because, like the description said, it can look easy sometimes, but what the route setters will do is they'll put the holds on at angles to just make the positions more uncomfortable and force the climbers to have to climb incredibly efficiently and effectively. We've seen throughout this entire competition mistakes are very much punished, so these athletes needing to climb and read the route very well.
You can see how the scoring works now. On the left, lead is added to Boulder, and we have a total in blue. Oh, Paul nearly dropped that move.
You could see in his right hand, he didn't quite know how to hold that hold. This section here, the hold, suddenly looking really uncomfortable.
He is, and he's low down at the moment. Big drop knee as he drops in. And he needs to make that clip as well. He's kind of gone past it, and it's really awkward. Now, you can hold it like that. You can't pull on it, but you can grab it.
Yeah, so the clips hanging down are quick draws. You can grab it to clip the rope into it. Usually we see like this, where he pulls the rope up and clips it in. They need to clip these in order, and he's done so far, but he's starting to look like he's having to fight. This section, it's crimpy. The holds are not very in-cut. They are quite rounded. He's wrapping his hand around the volume there, just trying to get the most efficient rest that he can. But we know the route setters have been really mean because they haven't given very obvious resting positions, and where there are better holds, the feet are terrible.
Yeah, and Paul nearly went again there, feet kicking backwards. He's only about halfway up here and moving on to scoring point 30 there on the wall. And although he's at the top of the leaderboard now, look at all those athletes to come, and you can see why we're concerned that he's had a few moments down low.
Yeah, the next hold that he will hit is the 30, so he has that now. He needs to be swinging his feet to the right. He's got a toe hook in. I expect we'll see him make this clip before he starts to climb down, but he's really struggling to keep tension through that feet, and we lose him there. Yeah,
that was an uphill battle for Paul Gempt. You could see him getting pumped, and yeah, the way he wrapped that hand around, that is like a desperation moment from him to try to get something back. So, interesting. An early fall on our first athlete out, and although he's on the top spot for now, he's only got 102, and considering Tomoa Narasaki has 99.7, I doubt Paul is going to stay there.
Yeah, we say anything can happen, and that is of course true, but it does seem unlikely right now. He's struggling to undo his knot there. That isn't unusual after a fall, but does maybe suggest that he gave quite a lot on that route. but I really don't think that was the round he was hoping for. He finished with 33 on lead. We've seen him do much better than that previously. He was in the finals of the Lead World Championships, so we know he can give a really great performance. So I hope he's not feeling too unhappy, but I imagine he might be.
So we saw Paul's replays just there. He took an early plummet. Let's see our next athlete out, Do-Hyun Lee. I think he's waiting back there somewhere. You can just see him being ushered on, and Do-Hyun walks on looking calm. Just 20 from Korea, and Korea producing some incredible athletes at the moment, becoming a real nation to watch in the climbing scene.
And I've talked about the fact that we saw Do-Hyun in both the Boulder and the lead final in the single discipline, finishing on the podium, 3rd in Boulder and just off the podium in 4th in lead. He isn't a specialist in either. He's incredibly good at both disciplines, so we know he can perform to the best possible level on this climb, but can he do it right now?
And you talked about the crowd and how it changes things. Since Paul's fallen, this crowd has gone silent. They are just tense in their seats as they watch this.
Yeah, which I do think gives a lot of weight to the athlete, very much suggesting that these moves are maybe not as hard as he might have thought when reading the route, but definitely suggesting he doesn't need much encouragement. Every now and then they kind of give a little bit away. As soon as he nears the high point, so where Paul fell off, the crowd will start to erupt and really want to see him push through that. So he'll very much get a feel for where Paul came off and what happened. Whether he's aware of that or not, or he's totally absorbed in his own climbing, we'll have to ask him himself. But it is hard to ignore a crowd like this because they are electric.
And he makes that move that Paul did look a little easier. Still a sort of bouncy move into the left.
But again, similar to Paul, not quite sure of how to hold this right hand. He made a decision much quicker. He's got a big drop knee in now, and he's going to take that clip. You can just see here how slopey those holds are. They're not in cut, so the climbers having to squeeze really hard to hold onto them. They can't relax or let up at any time. A foot slip or a hand pop will see them off the wall, and they don't want that. Climbing purposefully, accurately, and really, really considered is so important in lead climbing.
So that's where Paul fell before. And Do-Hyun is looking a little more comfortable here on these moves. This is where Paul had that sort of desperation wraparound. You can see the chalk deliberately left there by the setters just to show where the athletes are going. And he comes up to the undercling, crosses through, and 30 beckons above his head. It's the jib up there with the right hand. For a moment he popped a foot, but now he's got toes in.
And making that clip, it's really important that the climbers get that clip in early, because the next section they will climb down. If they forget to clip, they would have to climb back up again. So he's got that in and he moves to the section. The crowd may be suggesting he's got the new high point, he's almost there, and he's working his way through these holds. They look very big, they look good. We know some of them are good, but the ones that are have very terrible feet. So making them feel not as good as they want to be on that roof section here. This wall is 40 degrees overhanging. I don't think it looks that steep, so it's worth remembering. It's hard to actually see how steep it is when these climbers are on the wall. Watch the way his chalk bag is hanging down. You can see it's so steep, that wall. These holds are not going to be feeling very good right now.
They aren't, and he's climbed all the way down. Now he's climbing all the way up, so he's pretty much where he started on that 30, but the moves do count here. So a nice little feature there put in by the route setters. And he throws over with the left.
And keeping the foot, suggesting he's feeling really good. We were expecting much more of a dynamic movement into that hold, but he is looking really smooth. A high heel for the lower clip, which he didn't take earlier on, and I expect we'll see him clip the next one from this position as well. He might have a little shakeout first though. Yeah,
it's a good spot that. He reached way down left to clip that in. So, by intention or not, Do-Hyun has the clip in from that position, and he's just below the head wall here, as you can see from this wide shot from the camera panning across on cables. Do-Hyun will shake out here for as long as possible. He has got time on the clock. and getting some reaction from the crowd as well. 1 minute 57. And he's in the lead with 1:27, so lead added to Boulder.
But a big fumble of that clip there. He pulled the rope up, tried to clip it in, didn't get it. So suggesting he's not feeling as comfortable as he might have been looking initially. The next hold is worth 60 points, so if he can reach up to that and get it, he'll be in the 4-point scoring zone.
I thought he might have been short rope there, but I think it was just the angle he was pulling the rope at because he couldn't get much purchase on it, but he gave it a tug a few times, so I don't think that was a belaying thing. I think it was just the position he was in. And there is the next scoring zone with the pink on the jib, and Do-hyun is struggling to get out of this. Hasn't got the reach on it.
Reaching up, not quite making the distance. Great that he's able to save that, but really suggestive of how he might be feeling on the wall right now. Not able to give as much as he needs to make that move, and we see him just falling short of that hold. A bit of an unusual fall with a spin there, and he's lowered down. He looks very much like that fall was absolutely fine, but hands on his hips and looking up straight away.
Yeah, it was something about that heel position. It was a good one to rest in, but then he really had to kind of drop it down or find the extra strength to go through it. It was awkward for him.
It was, and the intention for that move is a campus move, so maybe the heel stopping his body, able to get the height he needed, but in all honesty, from the way he was trying to clip, it looked like he was feeling the fatigue. There have been many rounds throughout this competition, and he has done a lot of climbing. He has been in every single round of the Lead Boulder and Lead and Boulder event. Don't forget, that is a lot of climbing.
Oh, this was Do-hyun's moment. That was his spin down, as Shauna said, a bit wild just because of the heel position. What I'm finding interesting about this is how much endurance counts here, because the boulders seem a little longer. The lead routes are more sort of, you have to grind it out. It's not just a stop and move. So having that endurance in the back pocket, it has seemed to be important, at least for this World Championships.
Yes, definitely. And also the lead route is at the end. So they've gone through many rounds, like I've been saying, but they have to put it all on the line right now. The tactics are incredibly important too. Did they save energy in the boulder round? Did they not maybe have as many attempts? Don't forget, some of these athletes did the boulders quickly, some not so quickly, some not doing certain boulders and having to have more attempts. So each athlete having different demands on their body, but regardless, they have to pull on that wall when it's their attempt. They can't wait until they feel a little bit better. They have to sit in the chair, tie on, and be ready to go as soon as the athlete before them has finished their attempt. So very much different to an experience for most climbers that go to the wall and maybe if they're not feeling it or they want to rest a bit longer. Competition climbing is absolutely savage.
It is indeed. And Adam Ondra is a man who knows all about comp climbing. He's been on the circuit for a long time. He's made no secret of how important it is to him to get into the Olympics. And this is his first chance. So Adam underway with 4 in 5th place as it stands. And quickly through that bottom section. Smooth climbing as he rests on an undercling with a straight arm, standing on those big balls down low.
He said on his social media that he was able to get into a good mindset and climb quite well on the lead, which got him into 6th place after the semi-finals. He said it's time to rest now and get ready for the real fight on Saturday. So this is the real fight. He's been very clever about choosing which events to do this year, not doing the full season. He doesn't need experience, that is for sure. He's a previous world champion in both lead and boulder, but we have seen him make mistakes in this competition, and he needs the climb of his life to get into that top 3 tonight.
He does. He's got 4 minutes 40 to do it, and he quickly into this first shakeout position. I've corrected myself from saying rests by now because it really isn't. It implies that the athletes can get something back. No real something to be gained from here. It's just a moment to shake, try to get some of the pump. And he's reaching up high into the 30 and immediately gets those toes in.
You can see his arm is really straight. He's looking very, very comfortable right now. He needs to climb very, very consciously and considered in order to not slip up. The holds that we are looking at right now, many of them being dual texture, so where his hands are, there is texture on the hold, but if he were to stand on the shiny part of the hold, his foot would probably slip, so he has to be very deliberate in his foot and hand placements throughout this section.
So Adam moves up to the top spots, 129.1 his total at the moment. Good Boulder score from him added to that lead, and Adam will shake out once more before going up into the undercling.
We see Adam take a lot of micro shakes and micro rests, really trying to climb as efficiently as he can. He's so good on his heels. He's incredibly flexible through his hips and his legs to be able to make the most out of the holds that are on the wall.
So he's back up. Now this is where Do-hyun got the high heel, and Adam's done the same thing, which is fine. But as we know, maybe dropping it down and campusing through is the best way.
Yeah, I think we'll see him take the clip from this position potentially, and I also think he'll have the reach.
Oh, he falls. He was reaching up and he goes down. Well, once again, Adam did a similar kind of thing in lead where he had a bit of a moment. I wasn't expecting that.
That was a big surprise from Adam. His hands are in the air. He knows that he's probably not done enough. Yes, he's in the top position right now with 141.2, subject to appeals, but he's looking up. He had so much left. I'm surprised with Adam there. Again, we have been informed that this move is easiest to campus, not something that maybe would sound right, but because of that high heel position, what's happening is when they pull up, their leg is in the way of their body, so it's kicking their weight really far back, and if they don't hit that hold in one movement, they're just thrown straight off the wall.
Well, let's watch it because it was so quick, wasn't it? So he had the heel, he started to adjust. Let's watch where it went wrong. Yeah, it's right, that right foot got in the way.
Yeah, his leg is in the way of his body. He just can't reach past it, and surprising mistake from Adam Ondra. He is one of the most experienced climbers in the world, outdoors, indoors. He's kind of done everything, but here tonight, not given the performance that we were expecting, and I expect that's going to be a hard moment for Adam to process.
Well, for Jakob Schubert is coming out afterwards. I mean, he's climbed a lot with Adam over the years. They're good friends. And Jakob, look at this, he's hyping himself up. He knows now that there's a couple of moments. The crowd were gasping, he would have heard that. So he's looking up now, trying to figure out where on earth Adam fell. And I'm trying to see if the quick draw's swinging. It's not at the moment, so he might not know where that was.
I don't think Jakob cares. I'm gonna go against you here, Matt, and say I don't think Jakob has Adam's fall in his mind at all. Adam slipped previously in competitions, this competition being one of them. Jakob hasn't. We haven't seen that in this event. We've seen Jakob top in multiple routes. He's the current lead world champion. We know he's in the shape of his life with lead by his own admission in the interview I got to do with him after the lead finals. So Jakob, I think, all focus on himself, as it should be, because only he can get to the top of that route. He's the only one who can influence his score right now. Nothing else matters other than this climb in Jakob's mind right now.
Yeah, and he's right up there on that scoreboard. Look, he's already in fourth. So Jakob has this opportunity to make a big impression now. Moves up into third already as he's into the scoring. So Jakob, and he waits for that clip there for a second, but gets it in now. Jakob Schubert has this in his own hands. He's got his destiny there now, and can he push through? He's already up into third.
Yeah, he's moving so smoothly. I've talked about him being the current world champion. He's not just the current world champion. He's been world champion before in lead climbing. He had the Boulder round of his life earlier on with such a great score. Hopefully he isn't feeling the fatigue from that, and he can put in a performance that the crowd really want to see right now. This is going to be a very tense moment as Jakob moves up the wall, looking comfortable and focused and determined. All eyes in the stadium are on Jakob Schubert right now.
Well, there are over 7,000 eyes on him. 7,000 people got tickets for this. A huge moment. And Jakob's looking comfortable. He kind of danced his way out. And at some point, I think he might start to really enjoy this when he gets flowing.
He is looking comfortable, but like you said, when he gets flowing, maybe not looking as flowy as we've seen him previously, looking to carry a little bit of tension, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because these moves are so hard. The athletes need to be climbing precisely, and often that can come across as maybe slightly jolty movements. Jakob resting here, breathing deep, really controlled. This is a position he knows so well. He trains so hard on the end of a rope. Coming from Innsbruck with one of the most incredible training facilities that there is out there, he is an experienced athlete, and he is working so hard to get better and better, keeping up with the young guns time and time and time again.
All right, so Adam micro shaking his way, flew a flick of the wrist, gets the heel locked in. Jakob Schubert going upwards. Left hand in, gets the heel, comes up into the undercling.
And you can see here that there's a very good hold, but he's probably not going to hang around on it too much because this next move is quite dynamic and the foot placements are not great. The crowd's starting to tear Jakob as he nears the high point. He has moved through that so quickly, not choosing to rest. I think he'll know now that that was the high point if he's even listening to the crowd, but he's suddenly just moving and stepped up a gear in how fast he's climbing. We've been told that there are no rest positions on this headwall. Jakob hasn't taken a rest yet. He's done a couple of micro shakes, but he's climbing so fast. Look at the clock, just under 3 minutes to get to this last section, and there are not many moves left to go.
He's got a quick draw in underneath. We're counting the scores here. He's currently in the first position, but he hasn't made that clip yet, and he does fall. So 183.6 Jakob's result. We wait for the provision, and he knows, I think he knows, or thinks that's good enough. It's certainly a high point. He's not safe yet, but it was a good climb from him, and he's immediately looking up. Oh, this is exciting stuff here. So 183.6 is our new leaderboard, and he doesn't know, does he? He's back and forth.
But he can't know because he is not safe. The only athlete who can't overtake Jakob right now is Toby Roberts. Toby can definitely still get up there, but he has a score of 79.3. So with 100, that would be 179.3. Jakob on 183.7.
So Jakob says goodbye to the crowd and a thank you and a big smile on his face. And it was so smart. He got that heel in after he'd done the campusy move to do the shake. That was the difference, and Adam says congratulations to him, as does Do-Hyun Lee and Paul Jempt. Yeah, fascinating. He just saw the campus, bust the heel. And I know Adam, I always ask Jakob what he's talking to, because he always, the second he goes off, and I asked him in VLR, he was like, oh, I just want to talk about the route with the other guys because it's so interesting.
That's what they live for, climbing these routes. They want to know how it happens, what happens to the other athletes. If they fall, did someone else think of something different? You see him, as soon as he hits the ground, his eyes will flick back up to the route where he came off.
So, scores on the doors. Jakob Schubert leading the way, 183.6, followed by Adam with that surprising slip, 141, then Do-Hyun Lee, then Paul Jempt, and the rest to climb.
Jakob doesn't have a long wait because if one of the next three athletes slips with a score lower than Jakob right now, there are only two athletes that can go above him. So, if my maths is correct, which again I believe it is, and subject to appeals, Jakob will get an Olympic ticket tonight.
We're watching a few highlights from earlier on as we have a little moment to breathe here in the stadium. This was Paul. He was looking pumped early, and he certainly seemed it, falling quite early on down. Right foot out into the toe, then dropping off. Terminal pump from him as Roman de Grange screams upwards at his athlete. There won't be a ticket for him tonight. That's how tired he was. I think that shows and says everything. Do-Hyun Lee looked better down low, and I think he had more to give when he fell. Got the clips in, but this was the error, getting the heel up high above his head. Yes, it allowed him the rest, but then he needed to drop it down.
And what Jakob did is keep his foot low, actually. He didn't campus like the route setters were expecting. He stood on the tiny part of positive edge on the hold just below, twisting and using his hips really low under his hands to make that hold as good as possible. Climbing really smart, as Jakob always does. He knows how to give a performance when it counts, and he did absolutely everything it seemed like he could on the wall. Now he has to just sit back and see if one of the next three athletes can better his score. If they don't, he should, if I'm correct, be in that top three.
Well, there are the Austrian coaches. He had that heel in after the move, made all the difference, bumped it to a toe and then quickly into the head wall. There, he hadn't made the clip, he was going for the points. And we'll wait for our next athlete to enter. So Tomoe Narasaki is announced. Great score for him in Boulder, but that is more of his speciality, and we think he's going to be climbing pretty quickly through here, perhaps to try to get away with that endurance.
We see Tomoa climb very quickly, usually in lead. Obviously, maybe he might change things up and choose to climb differently. That quick style that he often has is high risk, which can play in his favor on a route like this, but also we know mistakes are punished, so he needs to not only climb quickly, but climb with a considered pace, I think. So not too quickly that mistakes happen, but also as quick as he can to not get as pumped. It's going to be a fascinating watch because, like we said, Tomoa tends to prefer bouldering. He's been much more successful in boulder competitions, but that doesn't mean that he can't get a spot here tonight.
I know there's a camera team who is watching Jakob Schubert because things might be decided in the next couple of minutes. It's all down to Tomoa now. Let's see what he can do. From Japan, incredible athlete, been on the scene for a while, and so experienced, and I love watching him climb. So let's see what he can do with this route. Out towards the right, then back to the left after he gets through this initial section. And he's into the points. 5 on the board so far, now up to 6, and you'll see that blue score on the left change as well. That's his total. Positive climbing so far, going for these moves.
But we saw him do quite a dynamic move there, flick his foot up. We talked about high-risk climbing. It can play in his favour. A little fumble of the clip there, maybe climbing too quickly, but you saw as he went into this next section, we've seen other athletes try to decide how to hold the hold. Tomoa not slowing down at all. He's made his mind up about how he wants to climb, what beater he wants to use, what sequence of holds, and he just motors through it, pausing to clip, of course, as he needs to, but very rarely changing his pace. He shakes very quickly, he chalks very quickly, but he is really accurate with his foot placements and his hand placements, and his contact strength is just incredible. And we already see him at 4:30 hitting that 30 hold here, and he just moves straight through it, no shaking. He hasn't clipped, he comes back to clip. Luckily, he saw that before climbing down, and we see his wife, Akio Noguchi, one of the most accomplished competition climbers in the world, an Olympic medalist, has retired from competition like myself, but great to see her cheering her husband on Tomoa.
All right, Tomoa drops down. He's done the down climb, and as thought, he's pretty speedy through here. Gets the toe in for a shake, and now he moves up to second position. So 141.7 his current score. Left foot on the no-tex there for a sec, but he got it through it. And he does a big throw. That was more spectacular. That's what we were expecting, and cuts loose. Whacks in a heel.
But he hasn't got that lower clip. He slips. I think the fact that he didn't have that clip in really didn't help him, but he suddenly went from looking calm, collected, to flustered and not comfortable on the wall, but he's pulling faces like he did give a good fight. However, untying the knot pretty quick, so maybe not a fight as much as he wanted. This is definitely opening things up even more. Tomoa with 156.7, obviously subject to appeals, but wow, this is getting interesting now.
All right, well, the maths are being done, and do remember we have to wait for that official result. We can predict things, but appeals do go on. So that's when he came out, and Jakob is celebrating down at the front. So he certainly thinks he's made it. We are waiting for that confirmation, but he is on his feet, shaking his hands at the audience as we watch Tomoa. This was a spectacular move. Cut loose, hit here, but couldn't make it slip, peeling out of it.
Yeah, it's rare to see Tomoa come off a hold like that. Yes, his heel popped, but I expect he was feeling the pump.
Well, while we wait for that official confirmation of the results, Colin Duffy comes out, and we think Jakob is through here, but we're just waiting before we sort of overhype this.
I'm very confident in my maths, and I can't see any appeals, so I'm going for it and saying Jakob Schubert got his Olympic ticket tonight.
Let's go with that then. So Jakob is through, and he did react down at the front with a big fist bump off camera. So let's focus on Colin Duffy here, the USA athlete. Comes up with the left hand. Up he goes with the left sloper. He's on 183.6. We think that's enough. Yes, he is. I've just got confirmation of that. So Jakob is through. How exciting.
You never trust me, Matt. You never trust my maths.
It's not you, Shauna, I promise you that.
Kidding,
it's because I will get murdered if something's appealed or something.
That's why I say it.
Exactly. But Jakob is through.
But
awesome.
This guy right here, he can earn his Olympic ticket. Things are still open. To be sure, he needs to beat Jakob's score, which he can do, but he needs to be right up there at the top on those very last holds. I think he actually needs to get to the last hold, if not the one just before. I'm pretty sure the last hold, if he wants to be 100% certain of it. But he can also come just below that. If he beats Tomoa's score, then he can be bumped around. Lots can change here, so all eyes on Colin, because this is his moment to try and earn his ticket.
So Colin is underway, and he goes up. He hasn't made that clip yet. We've seen it's possible from that position. We just have it there, right by his hips. Casual stuff from Colin. Chalks up and launches again and cuts loose. But a big bump here, and he's trying to work out where to put his feet. Had a moment there where he was considering where to go. Got the heel in eventually. Flicks them again onto the jib. Colin brings his foot down, pressing with the left foot.
Colin maybe not looking as calm as we've seen him, especially at the beginning of the Boulder round, but that is no surprise. The pressure is on. If he wants that ticket tonight, he has a lot of work to do here. He is climbing smoothly. That's not what I'm trying to say, but not looking as calm as we've seen him. Maybe that's a good thing. Nerves aren't necessarily bad. You can use nerves to aid your performance, and Colin needs the performance of his life right now. He's opting for a slightly different sequence. I thought he might be about to miss the clip. He looked up, gets that in, and now we'll see him take his feet down. Not the way we've seen other athletes do it, but really smart climbing.
Yeah, he made it work for him. And he's almost at the lowest point of this down climb. And he'll go towards the right. And turns his hands there, and he's got a really high foot. Colin sideways on the wall. And he has dropped that down now, maybe just using it to readjust as he crosses the feet through. I think he's starting to get pumped here. He cuts loose again. Has a heel in, comes to the undercling. Watch the scoreboard. He's still not in the top three.
He's still making moves very deliberately, but those adjustments that he was making, moving his feet around, are going to be zapping his energy. He gets this clip, though, which is really crucial ahead of this big move here, and he does it casually. He reached up really in great tension, but he does have the high heel.
Yeah, I mean, he can use it to rest, sure, but please drop it, Colin, if you want to progress, or he's going to have to do a monster move to go around that leg. And he's struggling with this clip too. It's awkward. Gets it in now.
As you saw him flag his left leg down, slight pressure on the wall to aid his movement to make that clip more efficient. Smart climbing again from him, but what will we see here? He takes his heel off, campers up just as the route setters intended, and the crowd go wild. Yeah,
so figuring it out from Colin Duffy. This is a great fight from the young man. Left hand. Oh, and he hits the next hold too.
But starting to fight hard here right now.
Oh, he is, and he's gone there, isn't he? Well, he's in the top three currently, so he's done enough at the moment, and only just, though. 156.7 is Colin Duffy's score.
Which is the same.
Oh, he's been upgraded
now.
There we go, so 160.7. As we wait for that leaderboard to go, and look at Jakob, I don't think he can quite believe it right now. He's done it again, Shauna.
He has, he just keeps doing it, and I wondered if he'd be tired, if he'd mentally fatigued after that lead win. He's the lead world champion, so I did wonder coming into this round, had that played into it, or had that fired him up, and we could see just what it did as he sits there in the throne, rightly so, with only two athletes that can take over him right now. Oh, only one athlete that can take over him right now, actually. He's going to be at least silver.
Wow. So add that to his previous gold. What a night for Jakob.
Oh, and Colin looking exhausted. Like I said, if you can come off a lead wall having laid it all on the line, that is what you want to be feeling, that true exhaustion, knowing you gave absolutely everything, regardless of the result. But yes, not the result he would have wanted.
Right, so Toby is counted down, and he comes onto the stage from Great Britain. What can he do?
So if Toby goes above 160.7, In his total score, he's currently set at 79.3. We will see him on the podium and getting an Olympic ticket. And I am going to do my best not to be biased, but he is British after all.
Well, explain that a little bit more, because you are from Team Great Britain. You flew that flag a couple of years ago, and that is why Shauna is on the edge of her seat right now here in the commentary box. Literally on the edge of her seat. So, Toby Roberts, he'll compose himself. He'll look up at the wall and take his 40 seconds. That's how long the athlete has to re-observe the route.
And we've seen Toby fight beyond where we thought was possible on a head wall. He said on his Instagram just how much he enjoys being in that space. He said that the crowd felt electric and he was able to execute and enjoy the route to the max. Nothing like fighting hard on a head wall. Combined, let's go. So let's see it, Toby.
What can he do? Crosses through with the left. He'll need to keep it together down low. Remember, and I am dreaming dramatic, but hey, it's my job. He did drop that move in lead, so he has made mistakes sometimes.
We've seen him make big mistakes, and only in this competition, because the pressure is on, it's piled on hard. And we've seen Toby not do moves, very dynamic moves. There aren't any dynamic moves in here, but we've seen other athletes like Anamondra making big mistakes and slips, athletes that are very experienced. Toby, on his first full season this year, still only 18 years old. What a moment for him in his career, as well as some of the other younger athletes that are, well, one younger athlete that is yet to come.
Yeah, Serato will be last out. Toby comes up to the pinch. So far, so good for him. Up towards the 10. The cut loose we're expecting here. Good climbing from Toby. Precise with the feet.
We know that this route is a resistant style route, so as the athletes climb through, no big obvious resting positions, micro shakes available, and having to just keep pushing and pushing and fighting all the way as far as you possibly can. We also know that this route is hopefully toppable. I say we know, the route setters expect that it is. In the semi-finals round, we saw Toby and Jakob both top the route. So if we want to see a top, all eyes on Toby and Serato, because they are our last two athletes. This event is almost over, but right now, Toby is the one on the wall, and this is his moment to get that ticket here in Bern.
Yeah, and he's moving up the scoreboard. He's in 6th at the moment. Crosses through to the high pinch. Hold 42, what we're looking for, mathematically, for Toby to get in, and he's nearing that mark. So that he needs to get to the scoring zone of 42. If it's less than that, Colin's in. That's what we're being told. So he's got the toe down low, and he has to do this down climb sequence first of all.
So in this section here, he's getting 3 points per hold, and then in the next section, we'll see him get more. He does a big flick here, not looking comfortable, unexpected from Toby. I think this is a route reading error. He needs to come down, reset himself. That was really not great for Toby. Hopefully he can make a good recovery, because he's not far off that spot, but a surprise there from Toby.
Yeah, he tried to get the toe about 3 times before he readjusted. Now he's got a heel in.
He's got a heel, but he's got the right heel, which is not what we've seen other athletes do. He's making it work for him, but he's starting to look a little bit pumped, I would say. He's got a long way to go on this climb if he wants to give the fight of his life, but suddenly starting to look composed as he shakes out. I hope we can see Toby give a good fight. That was an unfortunate mistake, but this is competition climbing.
Yeah, he's in 5th at the moment. 130 is his score. Makes the next clip, and he's coming up to this awkward move now. Will he be able to spot it? It is a big one. Has he got the power in the left arm? He's cutting loose like Samoa did. And then he's going straight for the campus, and he hits it. He's got something left here, has Toby Roberts.
What a fight. He is really pushing hard here. Great climbing from Toby. He sets up, he bumps, he just misses that hold. That is not going to be enough, I don't think. He's currently outside of the top 3 if the results are refreshed with 143.3.
Well, Colin is getting congratulated because he is through guaranteed, and he can't believe that. He does it again for him as well. That's 2. And yeah, Colin stands up, and Toby will look up longingly at that scoreboard. He will have to wait for another opportunity. Colin Duffy and Jakob Schubert are in. Brilliant for them.
Really, really excellent climbing from both those athletes. Colin lets out a roar. I can't imagine how they're feeling. I actually know how they're feeling, and it is emotional. My stomach is turning. This is there's such intense moments for these athletes, both the surprises, the good ones, the bad ones. It's all out there on the stage, and these athletes are going through it right now.
Well, Toby will say goodbye. It was a good fight from him, but not enough on the night. And he goes, and Jakob is someone who loves to bring these athletes on, which makes it sound like Jakob Schubert's about to retire. He's not. He's in another Olympics. Incredible. Let's see what Toby did during that round. Took his time reading it, making sure. Good on the low clips. And this was really where the first big mistake happened. Once, twice, and then he readjusted.
A surprising route reading error there from Toby.
Yeah, got the heel up, made the campus move, but I think that error down below is the one that did for him, eventually just building up the pump in his arms.
And our last climber of the event, the entire event, not just this round. We know that Serato has said he's not got his eyes on an Olympic ticket, he's got his eyes on the gold medal. We are yet to see a top on this route. I hope Serato can give it to us, because that would be really cool for the finish of this competition, but it would mean that Tomoa would be out of that top 3. His teammate, it is
it's like
all
Lion
to
King
play for.
The old lion replaced.
It's so hard, because there are moments of disappointment and disbelief, and it's just so pure.
It is, right. Serato is out. What can this man do? Just 16. He'll keep his composure, I reckon. He has throughout the competition. Score of 85 in Boulder. Hold 39 minimum needed for Serato for qualification. If not, Tomoa is in. Skipping over to the right there. Bumps in with the left. Good work from Serato. Will be somewhat poetic if he pushes Tomoa out, won't it? It would just be that story, that progression of athletes. Tomoa will be down there, obviously cheering his teammate on, but also, I mean, such a conflict in emotions for him. It must be. There he is. He's calm. He's not giving anything away in his face in that shot.
It's a hard position to be, and I do think these athletes, they all want each other to perform to their best and see where they're at against their peers. Not to forget that there are 2 spots per nation available. There are other chances, but walking away with the ticket tonight really changes how the athletes set up and approach towards the games. It is huge. It really does change things, and it matters.
It does matter. All right. He twists in with that right foot. We'll make a big clip up and then go into the underclings above his head. We know there's an opportunity to shake up there, so he's, that's a big cut loose. But he's feeling a bit pumped here. He should be able to get something back on this shake, you'd think.
He's looking calm and collected, as he often does, very rarely seeming to fluster. Really smooth climbing from him so far.
Yeah, accurate on that undercling as well. He approaches the big blue hold, and then he'll drop down from there as he gets the right hand up and cuts loose for a moment.
And let's not forget, we've talked about Jakob being the lead world champion and expecting big things from him on the wall. Serato is the vice world champion. He finished in 2nd place, taking home that silver. So big things expected right now on your screen, and it is the last climb of this entire event. A huge event, an incredible event, and this is the last moment for the crowd. No route reading errors from Serato here. He puts that toe in, slight little adjustment as he flicks up that next hold, putting the heel in and seeming really in control still.
Yeah, he moves up to 6th, 130 his total score. He's looking for 156.7 if he wants to move into the Olympics. And of course, stand on the podium and get a medal. There's that as well, worth remembering.
Well, that's all he's here for. He doesn't care about the Olympics.
That's
a bonus. Remember, this is Serato's moment to take a World Championship gold. And that is exactly what he wants to do. This guy is 16 years old, his first year on the circuit. What a moment for him right now.
Well, that's where he needs to get to. You saw the circle on the wall. I cannot imagine Team Japan down at the front. They're going through some things tonight. Up with the right. And I can't wait to see what he does with this. Will he read it properly? Will he get the high heel in? Left hand up.
A huge twist there. His left hip almost touching his right hand. A big campus move. He sets up, but he looks so controlled and composed. He's climbing accurately. Can he make this bump?
He's into fourth, but he slips. So, Tomoa Narasaki stays. I said the old line. The old line is in. Awesome from Tomoa.
I don't think he knows yet.
No,
Serato waves the crowd. I think he knows it wasn't enough.
Well, it'll have to be another day for Serato, and now Tomoa Narasaki knows it. Oh, I can't believe this, the men getting through. Collins in disbelief. Brilliant from Tomoa. That's so cool to see. And Jakob Schubert as well. He will move forward. Jakob Schubert at 32 years old, the oldest man in this final. He will move forward. And look at this reaction.
This moment right here, Akio is in tears. She is an Olympian herself. She is crying her eyes out. She was a medalist at the games. Tomoa having a moment with his wife right there, his teammates running in. The emotions at this event are not possible to describe. I keep scrolling to say I can't imagine. I do know how it feels, but I can't explain is what I'm trying to say. Hopefully you can see it on the screens right there as Tomoa holds back his tears, but mate, just let him out.
What a moment, eh? Well, we are done for the climbing. We just have to celebrate, and soon we will hear from those Olympians. Colin Duffy pulls on his jacket, and Jakob, well, that smile, I don't think that's going to leave his face for a very long time.
And so it shouldn't. I know he held back at the after party after winning that gold medal last week, so I don't think he'll be holding back tonight, that's for sure.
He likes a party, does Jakob Schubert, and I think he'll unleash all of that this evening. Well, those are our three, and Jakob wins gold as well, of course. That's double gold at the World Champs for him. Oh, Shawnee, you've got to go pull yourself together and interview some potential Olympians there. Incredible.
Potential Olympians.
I mean, guaranteed Olympians.
Yeah, some current Olympians and people with their ticket, guys with their ticket for Paris 2024. What an amazing moment for the sport, seeing those fights up on the wall. This has been an incredible show. The entire event has been flawless, so hats off to the organisers, the route setters, the volunteers, the IFSC and everyone involved in making this event the spectacle that it has been.
Double gold for Jakob Schubert. He says thank you to the crowd. I'm going to wait for the podiums, and Shauna will go and discover all of the secrets of what they're feeling, what they're going through. You get to go and interview those three, and Colin just closes his eyes for a sec on the left. Awesome
Tomoa
from them.
looking so emotional. Honestly, being behind the wall right now, if you could see everything that was going on, you will see every emotion imaginable. This event piles on the pressure, and it is just the most full-on environment I've ever experienced.
And these are Serato's moments, making those clips, making the big bump up. Sean, I think you might have to go. So thank you. Look, I'll say goodbye now because that's going to be it. It's been a pleasure sharing the commentary box with you. Thank you so, so much. And I think I might see you at a few future events. Let's just say that.
Maybe if people have enjoyed it, do let us know. I'd love to come back, and I do hope to. It's been a wonderful experience. Thank you so much for having me, Matt, and to all of you at home for putting up with me being a total movement geek. But I hope you've enjoyed the insights, and I can't wait to go interview our top 3 medal winners. So off I go.
See you soon, Shauna. So congratulations to our top 3 and all the rest of the athletes. Jakob Schubert, 183.6. Victory for him. Colin Duffy, 160.7 and 156.7 for Tomoa Narasaki. That's our top 3. Then Serato Anraku, he came so close, but wasn't enough tonight. He'll fight again. He's in 4th. Toby Roberts 5th. Then Adam Ondra in 6th. Do-Hyun Lee in 7th, and finally Paul Gemft in 8th. 102.8 his total score. Well, let's go down to Shauna at the front.
Crazy.
Jakob, come on, how are you feeling right now?
I don't know, this is crazy. It feels kind of like lead. It all went so fast. I don't know, I mean, today was a big day, obviously. I knew I had to do really well in bouldering to have a chance for that Olympic ticket, and the bouldering round couldn't have been any better for me. I think my big goal was going in with a lead to the lead, and that was just like basically already a dream coming true, and then it was all about keeping my nerves under control, and I think I did a good job doing that in the lead route.
I'd say you did more than a good job. You did an incredible job keeping your composure. Can you explain how you felt walking onto that lead wall just before you pulled on?
Well, to be honest, back in ISO and walking out, I didn't really feel that nervous yet. The route looked cool. I was just psyched to climb, and I was able to basically shut everything down, what this is all about and all that. We're like at a World Championship, and it's about the Olympic ticket.
No big deal, right?
Yeah, I was just like going to have fun on the lead route, but I have to say, on the route, there were like a few sketchy parts, like smearing on volumes, sometimes kind of okay holds where somehow I was able to think, which you usually don't want to. So I had some things going through my mind while I was climbing, and I'm really happy I was able to control it and get a good fight on the route, and it's crazy there was even enough for the title.
And the feeling when you realized that you had that Olympic spot, an Olympian already, but we know that Paris has been your goal. How did it feel when you realized in that moment?
To be honest, I don't really feel like I've actually realized it yet. I don't know, it feels like there hasn't been that much time to think about it. I was more focused on the route. I really wanted to see like a super nice performance from Sorato. He's such a good climber, and I'm kind of sad I feel like he wasn't able to show his best today, because I feel like he's the best combined climber right now. Today I had my day, but we're definitely going to see him at the Olympics, and there's still a lot to process. It's just, I think for an older climber like me, this is amazing. I can focus on just the preparation for the Olympics, calm a bit down, don't have to do all the comps next year, because I'm getting tired of doing a lot of comps, so this just works out perfectly.
Jakob, it's a true privilege to speak to you. Thank you so much. It's also an honor to watch you on the wall. Today was your day. Yes, you maybe think other climbers are the best in the world, but you have that gold medal today and the Olympic ticket. Thanks for speaking to us, and a huge congratulations.
Thank you so much. You guys are amazing.
Well, that's our stadium, and the crowd are not going anywhere at the moment. They are waiting for the podiums where they will cheer the athletes on at the front. And Shauna is down on the left. In fact, she's found our next athlete, so let's go down to her. So, yeah, Colin Duffy has been found. Let's go to Shauna Coxey.
Colin, congratulations. Wow, what a performance. We know that you fought so hard in semi-finals, and you talked about finding your flow. You did that here tonight. How did it feel to be on that wall in front of this crowd?
It felt amazing. I was just honored to be on this stage. Being in the World Championship combined final is this is probably the most difficult and proud final that I've ever made, and I just wanted to go into today and enjoy the climbing and not care about the results, and I was able to enjoy every second on the wall, every boulder, and then stayed calm on the lead route, and I'm very happy to be standing here with another Olympic spot.
Did you expect to walk away from this event with that Olympic ticket?
Absolutely not. I almost didn't make the combined. I didn't perform how I wanted in the boulder in the lead portion of the competition, and I squeaked in the last spot I could to make the semi-final. But I made the most of it and kept going, and I'm just so happy.
You sure did make the most of it. You are in the top 3. You're on the combined podium. You've got that Olympic ticket. I hope you get to celebrate tonight. Are you gonna celebrate?
Absolutely, yeah.
Good to know. Good luck with the rest of the season. You don't need to worry about anything but Paris now. Thank you for speaking to us, and a huge congratulations again.
Thank you very much, Shauna.
Thank you to Colin Duffy. Awesome performance from him. Well, Tomoa has been found, so let's head down and speak to Tomoa Narasaki.
Tomoa, a massive congratulations. It felt like there was so much pressure on you tonight. Did you feel the pressure when you were climbing?
すごいプレッシャーの中での、大会だったと思うんですけど、どうでしたか？
まずやっぱり本当にプレッシャーが大きかったっていうのはありますね。で、でも今シーズン本当になかなかうまくいっていなかったので、もうここは最後は、自分を信じてやるしかないと思って頑張りました。
At first, I'm so feel pressure, but training. So I believe by myself.
And your wife, Akio, is here with you. What does that mean to have her here and watch you get that Olympic ticket? Akio is here. What does it mean to have Akio here?
奥さんの明夫さんが今回ここにいて、オリンピックのチケットをゲットしたことに関してどう思いますか？
本当に自分以上に緊張してるんじゃないかなっていうぐらいで、すごく応援してくれてたので、その明夫の前で、その表彰台に立てたのはすごく嬉しいです。
Maybe she feel so pressure that more than I. So anyway, I'm so happy to in front of her get a Paris Olympic ticket.
We saw how emotional you felt on that stage. A huge congratulations. We can't wait to see you in Paris. Thank you so much.
もう本当に私自身もすごい感動しました。もうとにかく本当にパリオリンピックおめでとう。
ありがとうございます。Thank you.
Thank you, Tomoa. Thank you, Shauna. See if we get any more people, but for now we'll just enjoy the atmosphere here in the stadium as the people get ready for the podium. It's already been set up on the bottom right underneath that 15-metre tall speed wall. And it has been a busy week, and you can catch up on all of the broadcasts. And let's watch some of the highlights from earlier on, shall we? That was Tomoa Narasaki topping out the last climb. Meant a lot to him, and it was important at the end. That was earlier on as he made that match. Strong from him. Cutting loose and falling on the lead wall, but it was enough to get him in. And he was the athlete we just heard from. That's the jib. Colin Duffy, wow, what a performance from him. He was disappointed earlier on, as you could see in the boulder. Pulled it back though, kept in touch, which was important. Made the tops when he needed to, hit those coordination moves. And Colin Duffy, wow. Well, coming onto the lead wall, he had some work to do, but he was strong, powering his way into the head wall before that slip, giving it everything he could. Head immediately over to the scoreboard to check where he was at. And he's through, and Jakob Schubert, wow, well, he's been strong this year for sure. He's won, of course. But seeing him in that Boulder round after his previous disappointing Boulder rounds was impressive. He did more than enough there, leaving himself with less to do on the lead wall. But he still had to climb hard, of course. And boy, did he. Right up into the head wall for Jakob. No tops on that route, but a fun route to watch. And Jakob Schubert celebrates with his fans. And look at that, we move straight into our podium. Seamless organisation here. The athletes come onto the stage. And for the final time, we will hear a national anthem here in the stadium in Bern. What a couple of weeks that has been, eh? Do go and check out the World Climbing Club on YouTube. It's not just highlights on that show, lots of action, interviews. You can find out what's going on behind the scenes, so go check that out. But right now, it's podium time. And Tomoa Narasaki stands in that bronze medal position with his arms up in the air. He's through. Marcus Skolaris there, IFSC president, hanging a medal around his neck. Presented with that toy, which is the mascot. We eventually worked out it was a chamois. Colin Duffy, his name is announced. Silver medal for him. A few people have asked me about the Olympic ticket itself, because they are given one, but it is done off camera. We don't quite have time for that, but they do get a physical ticket. Not sure it will be allowed on any aeroplanes, but it's there. Colin Duffy gets the handshake and the medal. And finally, Jakob Schubert. Stands on the top spot, pumps his hands in the air. Awesome from Jakob as he accepts his medal. Two gold medals this week, not a bad couple of days for Jakob Schubert, eh? So for the final time, the top spot of our podium is used. Congratulations to all those three, and of course to everyone who did compete. And I take this opportunity to thank everyone behind the scenes at this event, from our media crew who are listening to me in the truck. Brilliant job with all the camera work from them, the replays, the highlights. Many late nights, so thank you, team. And to all the volunteers as well, everyone working behind the scenes. What a competition that was. What a World Championships. And just like that, it's over, we're done. Go back and check the broadcast if you have missed any action along the way. As our crowd start to depart the stadium, we will say goodbye as well. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. What a couple of weeks. We will return soon, though. The season isn't finished yet. Thank you for watching, and good night, everyone.